Warning, burnout alert. Warning, burnout alert. The co-hosts and cooperative production team behind Jaded Forum, 400 million, are currently approaching burnout on this show. This may impact the release times and frequency of future episodes. Long term, this could impact the existence of the show itself too. If you gain anything from watching Jaded Forum, laughs, knowledge, hope, and or more, and would like to ensure both its existence and growth as a program, please consider supporting its production directly by heading on over to opencollective.com/jadedforum and donating monthly. Thank you.
And we used to joke that she could fly.
Her name was Mrs. Chen.
We were fucked up as kids, huh?
Are we fucked up? Is it the conditions on the majority?
Two things can be true. Mic check, 1, 2. Okay.
Are we rolling on all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On that one too?
Oh, yeah.
On that one too?
Red light means rolling.
So I think we're good.
Oh, I bet the little Jaded Forum fans are very thirsty for this episode.
Well,
They missed us, and then it was David Vengro.
Well, too bad.
And they had to listen to a brilliant man talk instead of 3 brilliant with a lowercase b man talk. I'm just kidding. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah,
What up? We're back! We're back! We know you fucking missed us.
Just don't let him. Just let him go. Just let him go.
Let him get it out of the system. Go
I'm
ahead.
fucking hyped, bro. I drink a Bang Energy at 6:30 p.m. I'm fucking ready.
Is that the Rock's drink?
Oh my god. I feel like I'm about to do a fucking night shift for a fucking film set. No, that would be fuck, what's the name of that?
The Rock's.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's Bang, isn't it?
No, it's not Bang. Bang Bang. That's
I'm
Chief
here.
Keef's energy.
I'm here at the gym with a Bang energy drink, brother.
I'm here with Chief Keef's energy drink, Bang Bang, and it's fantastic.
I'm here with Kevin Hart and a couple of Bang energy drinks. That's not the Rock?
I'm dying to know. Zoa. It's Zoa energy.
I was gonna.
Like protozoa? Like he's a little germ?
Like the Protozoic era. My favorite era.
Like the Rock is a little germ?
When humans were strongest.
I miss 90s Rock when he was just like a little germ. He had like split.
Didn't he have a soul patch at one point?
What?
I hope he did. He had some facial hair, right?
He did, I think.
I mean, just look at that. Get a load of that.
Oh yeah.
You're
that's
ready to cop some Zoa at
crazy. Yeah, that's
GNC.
crazy.
I've had it too. It's really not good. Very underwhelming.
How he tastes like him.
You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Doy, how that WGA meeting was. Can you give us just a breakdown? I saw the chat earlier, and I saw the Marxism for writers thing. But I didn't. Was that WGA putting that on?
That was WGA.
Okay.
I can't talk about the goings on of the specifics of the meeting just because of union stuff. But
The bylaws.
the bylaws and the trilaws.
But feelings in terms of what we were talking about, in the context of what we were talking about earlier.
My feelings, I feel like broad position on unions in general. I'm just like, there's gotta be more than this. You know, there's gotta be more. It's like,
Not like this.
you know, I obviously stand to benefit from the WGA getting what they want, and I don't even this much might be too much, and maybe I'll decide later. But like, I think the sentiment in modern times seems to be, let's pay no consideration to the amount of production that is happening, whether it's television or oil drilling or whatever the fuck the form of production is. Let's pay no mind to how excessive that is, but as long as we get our cut.
Right.
You know, as long as we get our cut of it. And it just feels like, I don't know, in the short term, obviously, as long as these labor relations exist, I'm pro.
Yeah.
WGA.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Right.
I can't. I'm not gonna be out here like scabbing and all this dumb shit.
Yeah.
But like, I think people got to learn to look past this like boss employee dynamic, and like where you're just perpetually negotiating for your own life with people that could give less of a shit. And then there's the hierarchical element where you're convincing the people that are doing the negotiating to argue for the right things and making sure, are you bringing this up? Are you bringing it? Like, I'm just fucking like.
Can I speak to that? Or are you?
No, I'm not that. No, go.
I was gonna say my hope with, all my issues notwithstanding, my hope is that, because Richard Wolff, he's super pro co-op. He's made this point on unions before.
Yeah.
He's made this point for years. So my hope would be that, some of that comes out. He doesn't try to capitulate or just go with. He's going to meet people where they're at. But I'm hoping that he can sort of strike on that foundational thing somewhere in the talks. But in my experiences with artists who are unionizing, it's been hard to like get people to fundamentally. It's this problem of the imagination that we're always talking about.
Which is so ironic because it's a creative field.
You're right, exactly. But even with creatives, it's like the scope of the imagination is so limited. So I can't. It's distracting. It's distracting. Sorry.
He's taking a picture of his. Never mind. Go ahead.
But the analogy I used earlier was sort of like, sometimes when you're talking to anybody in any industry or field of work about unionizing, and you're kind of like, hey, consider something else, people can get really defensive because they think it's almost like you're wholesale attacking labor organization, any kind of organization around labor,
because that's what people think is the end.
They think unionizing that's the peak of labor organization.
I also get it because it's like I feel like unions are really low in population right now, so people are like focused on trying to get them more people in them, and then it's kind of like, well, there's more to it than just. It's like being in a prisoners union. It's like, okay,
right.
I just wanted to finish the analogy I made earlier is like, going to someone who's bleeding and they're just slapping all these tiny Band-Aids onto this wound. Yeah. And you go to them and you're like, I'm sorry, you need a procedure done, or you're going to die. You realize that, right? And they're like, I'm stopping the bleeding. It's like, yeah, you're stopping the bleeding right now, and that's great, but there needs to be a surgical procedure right now.
So you're telling me I should bleed out?
You're right.
So you're telling me that I should bleed out right now?
And then they're like, all right, what's this surgical procedure you're talking about? And you're like, all right, it's really complicated. We need to blah, 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 blah. And they're just like, no, man, just like, let me be, man. It's not gonna work. See, I put the Band-Aid here and like the blood is leaking out around the Band. It's like soaking wet. And I just keep putting Band-Aids on. That's the other
Sopping
thing.
is a good
right.
word.
And I'm like, the other part of me is like, do you talk to people who have been doing this kind of work for a long time?
Right.
If you were, you'd also fundamentally understand that none of this breaks with hierarchical social relations either.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can have more democratic attempts within the context of union organizing, but you're still in a capitalist institution. You're still in a hierarchical, like Yedoye was saying, boss-employee dynamic. So how are you, like, what's the path to bringing that? And then within probably a firm that shouldn't exist. It probably just fundamentally does not need to exist. The planet, humans don't need it,
Right. And I think what maybe is hard to swallow for people, actually, I mean, the whole conversation is hard to swallow, but the fact that it not only preserves but relies on that relationship,
right.
And especially when you look at where the movement is at now, where I'm going to use this as an example only because of the name, but it has its own fucked up history. But like something like United Auto Workers, where it's this notion of auto workers are united. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter, like there's no other considerations being made. It's like you work in automotive
Right.
in the automotive industry.
Right.
You're part of the union. And now we're in this weird position where people are unionizing individual corporations, where you have the Starbucks union, which I think
I never thought about it
the
like
whole
that.
what is it? What is the fucking movement called? The hashtag, I forget. Stick it to Starbucks is the fucking hashtag, which
Wow, it's really
but it's
memorable and effective.
yeah, right. But it's the fact that like you have the Starbucks union, you have the Amazon union, you have all of these unions that are attached to particular corporations at the hip, and
Cut the frap. That's what I would call it. Cut the frap. Go ahead. Sorry. Individual corporations are unionizing.
Point being, it's like it not only maintains that employer dynamic, but it also maintains the body that you're negotiating against, because once that thing doesn't exist anymore, it's like you don't have a pie to get a piece of, and I feel like there's a lot of excitement that's understandable because people are getting fucked, but I think we just and I feel comfortable speaking to this only because I'm into unions, where I feel like we could look further, but I think just broadly speaking, people just need to start looking further and looking deeper at the implications of what they're asking for,
Yeah.
I said earlier, this is like it's a similar argument people made. So we can get into the nooks and crannies of it. Similar argument people made about Bernie Sanders running for president is how I feel about the whole union thing. It's another one of these, because we can't afford to burn out again on a failed or limited tactic. Like we can't afford to do that again, right? So it's like this moment necessitates that we think beyond what's been tried the last 100 years and or re-exploring things that were tried in the last 100 years. But unionizing is not one of those things to me. And like there's people that were bringing up these critiques at the top of the 20th century, like Shuzo Hata, for example, is the one I point to. And I mean, it's crazy to think about it too, because back then militant unions actually existed.
I'm gonna bring up, speaking of United Auto Workers,
right? Like they were actually militant, like talking about like anarcho-syndicalism or syndicalism. I mean, like there actually were syndicalist unions that were bringing people out in numbers, and they were doing things. They were a force to be reckoned with. And you had people like Shuzo Hata who were saying the same point you just made. It's like, all right, so the goal is to have people organize within, like you break it down by industry, not even assessing whether or not that should exist, right? But you're just saying, whatever industry, get together and fight to take it over. And he's just like, what fundamentally dislodges us from the capitalist logic in that equation, and like there's this really sort of ambitious, for the more militant and revolutionary minded people in union spaces, of like, democratize the enterprise. Like we'll build up so much power that we can just basically take the firm and break it down and democratize it. But simultaneously, we're in this moment where there's a lot of excitement around union organizing, but when you zoom out for 1 second, you see that it's still weak. I mean, there's it's still like, you know what I mean? And it's like, my point is like, I don't think it's the point isn't to tell people, like, we shouldn't be excited about, you know, people
about labor.
Cultivating some type of class consciousness around their labor and where they're situated. But it's to say, why don't we harness that energy for something more self-reliant, something more, you know, we can just swerve trying to, you know, just doing this. I mean, that's basically most of it is just doing this with the state watching and all these powers watching. And we can instead take our labor, take our time, take our energy, take our resources and not deal with bosses. And it's a very challenging thing, obviously. And there's like 1,000,001 different points in that route. But to me, it's more realistic, you know?
I mean, I think I kind of have the same mindset on it as I have with like nationhood and self-determination. I'm just like, free yourself from your like colonial oppressors, but also just know that you're gonna have to interrogate shit after this process. It doesn't just having, I mean, I'm Nigerian. Just having Nigerians run Nigeria is not the end all be all, because it still means most Nigerians are not the president. You know, there's still like hierarchies to challenge, and you have to interrogate everything after that point. You know, just to make it very clear that this is not like a antagonistic thing. I think it's just to say you should have a holistic picture of what you really want. It's like, if you want to just build up power and make more money off of producing something that is in some way or another pushing the world toward the brink of destruction, then yeah, sure.
This dovetails with another thing that I think every time I bring it up, or like I feel the urge to bring it up, I anticipate just eye rolls out the ass. Yeah. But we literally have to stop working. Like this, I'm saying, like, in terms of this climate crisis, ecological collapse, we literally have to stop. The driving and all that's like all the fossil fuels coming. Seriously, it's just
I'm laughing because
that is like that's the bulk of this problem. It's like this machine.
It's a good way to phrase it too.
Right.
Like we have to stop working.
Right.
It's not a
and
work less.
Right.
Yeah.
So naturally people go, well, I need to work to survive in capitalism. So practically speaking, how do I do that? And to me, just to keep it very broad and trying not to be too vague, but also trying not to get too much into the weeds. I could, but creating broader organizational bodies among collectives of people where the plan and the goal is to get those people in land and housing situation, just space or territory to where they can democratically cooperate with each other, and their labor, their quote unquote work, takes on a new dimension and a new meaning. Right? We're creating our own safety nets collectively in different localities around the world, and we're figuring out how to survive and live comfortably together. And the implication is we're not reliant, we're not like plugged into these toxic machines that are just degrading the biosphere and the planet. You know, it's very doable. In fact, there are people living this way now all around the world, whether or not they have like a super, you know, comprehensive plan or strategy that's like outward facing or whatever. Right. There are people who, you know, they have a local social ecosystem. They have a, you know, relatively localized food production. You know, you can't get everything localized, of course, but like this is I just want to say it so people aren't just we're teasing, you know, but never actually saying trying to explain what we're thinking about when we're thinking of the alternative. That to me feels more reasonable, feels way more doable. And I there's all these, we've talked about it before, there's all these moments from the last decade plus where like the Bernie Sanders campaign, all these fucking political campaigns, millions, billions of dollars thrown into that. Sometimes largely coming from poor and working class people, where I go, oh my God, you're telling me we can't like systematize that towards this collective democratic infrastructure building instead? Instead of everyone just being, I mean, it's just this imagination thing where when that is in front of us, when we have an opportunity here to do that, what does it mean for us to instead just be like, give me more money?
Yeah.
You can keep existing. Just give me more money.
It's really like a great escape.
And I'll
thing.
keep
like,
working, by the way. I'll keep living this shitty life, but making more money, though.
Right.
To me, it feels like people don't realize, like, it's got to be like a great escape Shawshank Redemption thing where you're just digging a hole for years.
Right.
It's like, sorry, the other answer is stay in your fucking cell, bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
yo, that is the perfect analogy.
Sorry, it's not like, can't we just blow up the wall and run out? It's like, no, we gotta fucking do this, and it sucks ass.
Yeah.
Oh
but that's the only
God.
way it's gonna happen.
I love that analogy.
Yeah,
because you're
that's
looking at dirt, right?
You're
Sometimes,
looking at dirt.
Sometimes
and
you're
it's
looking at dirt.
Small. It's
Right.
small increments of progress over long periods of time.
Yeah.
The thing
But
that's
the other option is fucking die.
the thing that's crazy is I do think because we're in this information age, there is potential for there to be, if we could actually have real movements around this.
Well, yeah.
Lord knows, maybe it's not that
Spontaneity that could occur.
right. Maybe it's not that
Yeah.
that it's going to be tedious and it's going to be a struggle, but maybe it's not as bad because there's so much energy and momentum and education and awareness of like, oh, we can just rearrange ourselves. We can literally just rearrange ourselves in this society. And there's like, there's going to be a new set of challenges, but like, we'll get more time. Psychologically, socially, emotionally, we will feel better. We will live better lives. Even if the broader systems don't change, our lives will be much more fulfilling before we kick the bucket.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I also feel like there's this might just be conjecture, but I think there's like maybe a sentiment among like the people who are capable of like kind of like financially capable of unplugging and deviating into something better. I think there is maybe some like, and this is assuming that they're like studied up and even like like what David called vulgar Marxists, I guess. Is I think maybe there's this like clinging to this dogmatic belief that, like, we talk about cooperative business a lot. I think there's a dogmatic belief that once you cross that line, that now you're part of the like ownership class or whatever.
Oh, because you have a business?
Yeah.
An enterprise?
And I think people aren't paying attention to the difference being democracy within the workplace, you know, like democratic organization, sociocracy, all of these things, where they kind of have this idea of a business as being like, they have this idea of business as being just a guy bossing a bunch of people around. And I think what would maybe, to use another of David's words, disabuse us of that notion, is to just say that you can organize a business differently. You can organize it in a way that, you know, everybody has a say in what goes on and how much production gets done. If we have this notion that if everybody comes around to this idea that we need to stop working, which we do, then you can just decide to stop working collectively. You know, you can make that choice. I don't know, man.
That's so fundamental. Like everything you just said is so fundamental. And I think an extension of it is extension of that point too, is like, because you can decide, and what we're talking about, what we're proposing, we're not suggesting people decide to like set up a business just to be like, look, we're in Target now, you know, like we're on the market with every other business, right?
Yeah.
Like we're selling our commodity and we've been legitimized on the capitalist market.
Yeah.
We're talking about producing things based upon collective need.
Yeah.
That's specifically what we're talking about. Now, there's a whole discussion to be had about what quote unquote need is. There's a whole philosophical, it could be a whole episode in and of itself, just trying to define need, define value, define all these different things.
Not shit that's advertised to you. My mom has a fucking banana hook in her house. She has a hook for bananas.
Makes sense to me, dude.
I think about that every day. She has a hook.
Is the hook a banana doing this?
It's like,
because I'd be kind of mad if it was.
It's like a little, just a base and just like a little arm.
Oh, yeah. Those are classic.
You hang bananas
Totally
off
not
of.
necessary. You just put them in a bowl or
like,
on a surface.
It's got a wrapper. What is the dirt you're trying to protect it from?
The distinction.
You're trying to simulate its natural.
You eat the wrapper too?
You're trying to simulate its natural environment. That's what. So the bananas feel at home.
They like to hang.
The distinction, though, is with a traditionally capitalist business, you're making a thing to make money, to accrue capital, which is its
forever.
Right, forever, indefinitely.
For no reason.
You have to that specific thing, you have to recognize that as a very, very specific thing, right? Because if the alternative, what we're talking about, if it's a group of people and they need to produce something collectively in order to survive or meet their own needs, they need to collectively generate some type of revenue. The ultimate ends are social. It's not capital. It's not a fiat currency, right? And that's going to have radical implications in terms of ecology, in terms of the environment. It's going to have radical because right now we're making fucking cars. We're building buildings that aren't even being used. Construction projects, buildings. We're building buildings that aren't even being filled with people.
Beautiful building.
Bro.
And this is the logic of capital determining these projects. It's not needs, it's not whatever, and that waste is contributing to this climate crisis.
Like, bro, how are they not done building New York yet? How is New York not
I was going to
finished?
say, when is it done? When are we done?
Like, there's scaffolding
and done. When do we all go and done?
Right. There's scaffolding up everywhere. I'm like, that's a fucking building right there. That's
Dude,
been
the
there.
John, what's his face episode about scaffolding?
John Oliver?
John Wilson. He did an episode about scaffolding.
Do y'all know about the cheese caves?
First of all,
don't ever say I don't ever include context with things I say.
I think I have a question for all of us. What?
Yeah.
What?
Is this a Wallace and Gromit episode? Did you just have a lapse?
The government has been in cahoots with the dairy. I'm going to try and find a summary of this.
Hold on
that's
a goddamn
succinct.
second. The cheese caves?
Yes.
There
are over 1 billion caves. I don't even know. There's over 1.2 billion pounds of cheese in caves.
Another kilo of cheese for you, Master Wayne.
This isn't. I'm not joking. I'm dead ass serious. This isn't. I'm not even.
You're sitting with two comedians.
I'm not even being.
Funny
This
for us.
is no. I'm just saying. Just for people listening, I don't want people to think I'm being hyperbolic or something. Just look this up. I just hit a random link. This is from St. Francis High School College Preparatory. Thank you for this write up.
Oh my God.
Cheese caves. America's 1.2 billion pounds of hidden cheese. The United States government owns 1.4 billion pounds of cheese. It's why that's interesting and relevant on my fucking point about capitalism. Now, they don't store this in warehouses or storage facilities. They keep this cheese hundreds of feet below ground in converted limestone mines in Missouri. The cheese caves are kept at a perfect 36 degrees Fahrenheit and are home to the massive stockpiles of government-owned cheese. The United States cheese, it says hoard, but they must mean board. Began. Oh no, they did mean hoard.
They're hoarding.
The United States cheese hoard began in the 1970s during a national dairy shortage. At this time, President Jimmy Carter decided to pour money into the dairy industry so that production could increase and so that the 30% inflation on dairy products could go down. The government provided over $2 billion to the dairy industry, but this primed them for overproduction. Whatever cheese was not sold on the market would therefore be purchased by the government to keep prices low. By 1980, the United States government had bought over 500 million pounds of cheese. The first solution for this excess of cheese was to package it into cheese blocks for distribution. These cheese blocks were called government cheese, and the Reagan administration distributed 60 million 5-pound blocks of cheese for pickup by people at food banks and community centers. This was a temporary solution, but it did not last. By 2019, the government found itself storing cheese blocks in numbers greater than ever seen before. The United States now possessed 1.4 billion pounds of cheese, and they needed a place to store it. They decided on converting limestone mines in Missouri to store the cheese. However interesting this is to us, it actually reveals a larger problem in the United States. The government is sustaining an industry that is clearly not growing on its own. In fact, Americans are consuming just a little over half the amount of dairy they were 30 years ago. In addition, 36% of Americans are lactose intolerant. These statistics display how the government should ideally stop funding dairy production in the United States at the level that they are. The cheese caves deep underground are a fascinating and little known aspect of our history, but they also reveal an issue that most of the population is unaware of. St. Francis High School snapped with that one.
They should have called it the case of conspiracy. Go ahead.
Now, how long after this did the Got Milk campaign start?
I was about to ask.
How long? Also, I was going to make a joke about how that was the government cheese every comedian in the 90s joked about, and it's fucking real.
I don't know about that last one.
I'm sorry. I really didn't intend to read all of that, but it's just so important. It's my point.
That's fucking insane.
That's the logic of capital. That's the logic of capital. That article was nice in that it was recognizing the government's part.
That was high school?
But that's I don't know who wrote it, but it's the logic of capital that is determining that government policy. Like let's be clear about that. Right? And there's a whole workforce just around operating these mines. We're talking 18-wheeler trucks, whatever the fuck, rolling in and out, day in, day out, operating. And the logic is these are our jobs. This is what keeps. It's like, should the focus be them unionizing that? That should be. Let's democratize the excess of cheese production that we don't need. Right. Like, no, yeah, that's my point. Yeah. That's my point. If you have a collective of people and they are democratically determining what they need to survive and to be happy while living in balance with, non-human nature, their surrounding ecosystem and environment, now we're talking about potentially millions, billions of people starting to get away from these ridiculous production efforts that hurt the environment,
right?
That are detrimental to other forms of life and ultimately human life and survival.
Mm-hmm. That's like Denver airport level,
crazy
shit.
I didn't know about the Missouri cheese caves.
I think of the cheese caves, and I think of China building the whole cities with no people in them.
Bro, the fucking
whole cities with no people in them. That is crazy.
The world is so big. Like, there's so much shit in the world.
Right.
There's so many countries out there just vibing.
These
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
These fucking nuts.
They're like, wouldn't it be a vibe if we build an empty city? It'd be crazy.
These fucking
a city.
Yeah.
What they should call
It'll give people jobs. It'll give people jobs.
That's the craziest shit to me. Job creation. I think I opened with a thing about that on my
We're gonna build a Top Golf in Beijing. It'll be phenomenal.
But
a lot of workers on that project.
I forget which.
I'm sorry, but even Bernie uses this job creation.
Oh, yeah.
Job creation.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's stuck in a situation where fucking Democrats have to appeal to that type of logic ever since the fucking 90s.
Right. But a real revolutionary, quote unquote, politician in this era has to dislodge themselves of that. You have to become a libertarian municipalist. Your job is to facilitate people at the grassroots getting themselves out of this logic and being like, I will help you however you need me to from this position. But that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are people there's a tiny fringe amount of people who have a vision for what that could be, but that sets the stage for the AOC and the Bernie, the social democratic but left-wing rhetoric discourse and the limiting of the imagination. That's a part of the magic hand wave thing. Because I'm sorry, no one is going to convince me that millions and millions of poor and working class people can't figure this out.
Right.
Can't figure out
That's the thing I was going to say about talking with David was like, it also makes present time feel less linear and less stagist.
Yeah.
Right.
It feels like there anything.
You see the possibilities.
Yeah, it's like people are going to have conversations about how should we organize ourselves, and it's not always going to be the nation state.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be that in every conversation, even without some conversation with the intentionality we have. Like, people are going to start trying shit. It's going to be fucked up because people are going to start trying bad shit that's been proven to be bad too.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're going to try all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's how history has and will progress.
Yeah. It's like maybe we'll just have to just try everything again. Maybe we're just the dumbest. Maybe we're just like the
fly while y'all try.
Well, I'm like, maybe we're the first. We could be like, we're not the first, but like among the first generations of people that's just never experimented with social forms. We've just never had that in our lives. Just didn't even
my God.
Just have no sense that that's even possible. Well,
that's what it is, because that's where this conversation ultimately goes to, is like the real reason socialism is popular is because people are ultimately seeking that at its core. Is can we just talk about how we relate, period? How this all works. Clearly there's a economic part of it. Clearly there's a racism part of it. Clearly a patriarchal part. It's like, we're eventually, there's only, it's just reality at a certain point.
And you know what? I'm thinking about it in terms of like artistry and like creative labor, just to like link these things, is that I've had conversations recently with people about a comedians union. I had talked to somebody today about it and tried to sort of dispel the idea. And I think whenever I think about that specifically, but unions in general, the first things on my mind are retaliation and exclusion.
Right.
I'm like, there was I can never remember what I've talked about on the show, but like
we've talked about all this before.
Yeah, I mean, but like what stories I've
imagination.
No, I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that to protect us from the comments.
Right, but like, but there was a comedian strike in 1979 at the Comedy Store.
The most mid-era of comedy ever. We want to tell our jokes about blazers. Pay us.
But
we want to tell jokes about silk. And large cars. Anyway,
Jay Leno did get hit by a car actually, and then he became what he feared. he's like a Batman for cars.
Yeah, we were talking about that, and then now he got exploded inside of one.
Yeah,
he's safe now, I hope.
Now he comes back as Jay Leno Beyond.
Yeah.
But
Jay Leno Beyond.
Yeah.
Jay Leno Beyond. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm pretty good at this. But
1 point for you. One comedy point.
I wrote Batman. Okay. But no, they like my problem with that is like one that they did it at the Comedy Store specifically. It was limited just to that venue when the Laugh Factory is right down the street.
And wasn't it just that one lady that ran the shit anyway?
It was Mitzi Shore, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
imagination, man.
It's
maybe
crazy.
fucking go literally anywhere else.
Right.
Make your own.
Honestly,
Make your own venue.
That's the thing that bothers me is if you look at LA now, all the good comedy shows are at people's houses. There's house shows everywhere. And I think about, to finish my earlier point, I think about that and all the violence that came from that, and also the fact that now if you look at the relationship between comedians and the Writers Guild, SAG, the DGA, all of these artistic creative unions in production, you have comedians that couldn't give less of a shit about starting a comedians union because they have this aspirational mindset of like, I'm going to get into the WGA. I'm going to get into SAG. I'm going to become a director.
We have a hierarchy of unions.
And also, a lot of these comedians are low-key
hierarchies on
right-wing.
hierarchies.
Yes.
They're low-key capitalists, a lot of them.
Yeah.
They'll take fucking any bag.
Exactly. They're people I wouldn't want to be in a union with.
Can I say something really quick? I don't want to interrupt your train of thought really quick.
It's already interrupted, so go for it.
I just wanted to say, are we talking about freedom or not?
Right.
Yeah.
If we're talking about unions, we're not talking about freedom. I mean, you can stretch it to say somewhere down the line we will be talking about that.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about arguing for higher wages within the capitalist logic, we're not talking about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there can be so many right-wing unions.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
The fucking police have a union.
Yeah.
Like that's
I always thought it was so like cucked when you'd watch documentaries and be like, yeah, Mitzi Shore, you had to be in her favor. Yeah. And it's like, you suck ass if that's the case. If one person, I mean, I get the gatekeepers back then were a bigger deal, but it is just kind of, it's like, that's not cool. That's dumb and you're lame.
You're trained. You were saying something in response to me saying start your own venue, like comedians, and I think you were talking about comedians doing things in homes, doing house shows. And
okay,
stuff.
yeah. So like, when I think about the way LA comedy in LA is structured, or at least this is how it was structured when I lived there. I think recently there's been
like post-COVID. It's been
no,
different.
this was 2014 that I lived there. But
no, I'm saying like recently.
Oh, post-COVID, yeah, I think it's
they've
changed.
reacted to that.
I've just heard like rumblings about people sort of sneaking in to start taking advantage of younger comics with like paid open mics and all of these like intricate forms of payment for. Niles could speak to this better, but
and hopefully we'll have him on sometime.
Yeah.
soon.
But when I think about that, I'm like, and I've sort of floated this idea with people just sort of in passing, but like the way that stand-up comedy in particular is just not integrated in any type of community. It's like one of my big problems with it is that you see maybe 100 to 1,000 people in a night, and you never see those people again.
Right.
You know, it's like if our goal in life is to be artists and to be creative in the way that humans are supposed to, then a big part of that is doing it with other people, you know? And it's possible that stand-up comedy is just an art form that's completely grounded in capitalism, but I have trouble believing that, you know what I mean?
I personally think your point applies just almost all across the board. Your point applies.
Which point?
Just the point of, to me, my interpretation is you're saying what do you want? You know, if you want to be fulfilled as an artist and a creative, that require in these broader systems that requires you to have some type of organization beyond yourself.
Yeah.
But some people I don't think really, it's like, I was going to say, what do you want? Like, be honest about what you want.
Well,
some people want capital. They're okay with capitalism.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
funny.
look at it. It's like, you want to get paid more. Okay, why?
Right.
If freedom is all, if you you and all your friends getting paid more means you all have more free time and don't have this relationship with your art, then isn't that what you're just should be building anyways? Is a situation where that's the case?
Right. And I think what I was building toward is like just a more concrete vision of, in my case, actually not even just comedy, because I think this can encapsulate all of the arts, but just like when you talk about putting it in doing a show at somebody's house, I think you can broaden that out and say, what if we had a collective house, or just like a broader like community of some kind, where the venue or whatever version of a venue you have is then integrated in that space, and you really use it you can really use it as a community building thing.
Physical
that's
and
not,
social infrastructure.
Yeah, that's not just isolated to one little home in the suburbs, in the hills in LA. You know,
like a novel. It's like a one-off novel.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that we're gonna instantly
Right.
try to make cool and
Exactly.
the fucking
Exactly. It's like
underground comedy.
right.
You know?
It's like we have the space, we have the physical space to do these things. At least, like when you talk about maybe starting a business, that gets a little bit more complicated. But just like the physical space to bring people together in a way that's lasting, and say, we're not even going to bother with all of these people that are going to retaliate at the idea that we should be respected by nature of being humans. You know, it's like we can just look at the real like purpose of art and say, why do we even have a culture industry? Why do we have an industry that's geared at churning this stuff out? Why do we need to keep making content when like the fucking Romans coasted on the same myths for a fucking however many hundreds of thousands of years?
Like the cheese caves, making shit that don't need to be made.
Right.
On the culture point, this is kind of a branch off, but I've been following this guy Mark Sierra, who I've been talking to. It's this filmmaker and a film enjoyer, cinephile, and he makes content on TikTok, and it's such a like refreshing. It's like, vertical, ring lit, microphone, subtitles, graphics on screen, talking about top 5, whatever. But he approaches it with such a more natural, conversational. It's not like hyper fast paced, whatever. He's like really talking, and he was breaking down some of his favorite, just personal favorite, coming of age movies.
Yeah.
And one of them was Amarcord, and it's like kind of like Fellini's critique of the coming of age perpetual infantilization of fascism.
Right.
How fascism basically makes you want to stay, in Star Wars Marvel land, so that you don't actually overthrow said fascism. I said capitalism, but fascism.
Yeah.
I think we really are seeing that right now. Like, as much as I've always been into geeky shit and video games, and that's never going to go away, but there's a certain sphere of people that I think would be into something else. And another time, they'd be into something else. But they're really into modern lore Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Star Wars was a huge movie, but there was also like people who actually fucked with it, and they were ostracized from society.
Yeah.
You're going to conventions and fucking people at those conventions.
Right.
These guys were not doing that. It's like, so there's this new wave of culture that I think is that sort of somatic, like, complacent kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Yeah. I mean,
Because it has to keep going too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
The monitor being off doesn't mean anything. Okay, sorry.
No worries. Thanks for
there's
keeping
a
your eye
fresh
on that.
battery right there, but it's whatever.
That's for me to lick
Yeah,
later.
That's
That's
bad
for me.
placement. Bad placement. But yeah, I mean, it's like,
Can I go back to something you said earlier? Because there was, you were making a point about young people experimenting, potentially not, experimenting with social forms.
yeah,
Just sort of, in my interpretation, it was almost like in general, because
yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't
right,
Yeah.
right, and that is just so deep to me on so many different levels, because, and we've spoken about it, alluded to it before, about even for us being millennials, we have some memory of these, like being a part of community institutions, no matter how fucked up they were. There was the sense of, there was a place beyond the home and the school where I connected with people. I formed bonds with people.
Yeah.
Some of these people, they weren't blood, but it was like they were my family, right?
Yeah.
And I think it dovetails with what kind of, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, like the just wanting to be in Marvel, Star Wars lore,
Yeah.
whatever. There's this like, it's like a debilitating comfort thing almost. It's like, because you're scared and hurt and depressed and anxious, looking at this overwhelming monster of a system that is just looming over us in our futures. And yet you're simultaneously so entranced by its mechanics and tools that you're afraid to step out, color outside the lines, if you will, of what this machine has laid out for you. And what's the generational difference to me is at least we have some semblance of like what it might not be coloring outside the lines, but you have this sense of social organization that went beyond what the state maybe laid out for you or whatever. Right. And now we have generations of people that have maybe never experienced that. They've never experienced anything.
Well, yeah, that's really the big differentiator,
right?
I think.
And it makes it even harder in a certain way to convey some of these things. And you're kind of like, I feel like we're leaning on the people that are bold enough and almost desperate and passionate enough to at least try and step out of their comfort zone to step into something that could ultimately be liberating in ways that they never even accounted for or imagined. And if anything, I would just want to underscore the nuances of that and like at least my awareness of that, because I mean, try and put yourself in the shoes of someone that I don't know, you've just had school and the nuclear family and video games and the social media. Yeah. And now you have these people saying, step outside, touch grass and more. Right, trust, cultivate trust with strangers. Yeah. They're not your blood family. Cultivate trust with them. You know, it's like, that's where I think people can start to feel like, oh, I mean, it's either we're all gonna burn, or you're trying some cult. Right. You know, it's a scam. You know, there's nothing else outside of that. There is no other way of doing things. It just couldn't work. Yeah. That's what leads to that. A part of what leads to that defeatist mindset, I feel.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of. I mean, this is something I wish we had talked about with David while he was here. But
oh yeah, that would have been perfect.
I mean, that idea of play kings and play queens, where you have these like grand festivals where people like you're king for a day and you get to pretend and like, and it's really more about highlighting how silly it is, how just stupid of an idea that is for one guy to be like waving his shit around and like ordering people around and all this stuff, and you really just like, it's a fucking clown show, you know. And you really get to see how silly it is. And now when I think to reconcile all of these ideas of like the culture industry and the fact that you don't really get models of that being stupid. You get models of like, maybe a leader in particular is stupid, but not the idea of leadership. You know, it's like Michael Scott is a bad boss, but with the underlying implication being that there is a good boss somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and like when you watch TV, there's never like, you get all these kids going out on adventures and all this stuff, and you never get this idea of them being running things democratically. You never get this idea of them like making decisions together. It's always like, well, who made you the boss? And then there's always this fucking it's a good impression of nobody. Yeah. But there's always like a Tetsuo Kaneda relationship.
Yeah.
As opposed to like anything else. And it's always like
boring. Where's the conflict? Boring.
Right. Similar. It's related to that dialogue conversation.
Sorry, I'm just writing Ted Lasso as we speak.
It's related to that conversation we were having with David about dialogue versus the Twitch, debater, culture.
Yeah.
It's like can we just cooperate on any?
Exactly.
We can't even cooperate just communicating to each other.
Exactly. And it's like the fact that you, throughout your waking life, you're just hammered with models of people dominating each other in some subtle way, and then you finally get to leave the house and go to school. I guess it should be the other way around, but you leave the house, you go to school, and you just are basically in prison for however many hours a day. It's literally modeled after prisons, you know, and it's like you live in and then the same model is replicated at home. It's like you live in a prison, you leave prison to go to prison, and then you pray for the day that that you can grow up and join the workforce, which is another prison. And then you constantly have the thought of an actual prison hanging over your head and say, thank God I'm not there, when you've been there your whole fucking life.
Oh, I had an intrusive, like, near panicky moment the other day where I was just like, what if I went to prison?
Yeah.
Just like, that'd be horrifying.
Right.
Dude, no, what you're saying is, it's just very true. And
I want to go on another, I want to extend the conversation out further for those who have been able to, I guess, keep up with all the different moving parts of what we're talking about. And into a place that I don't really see explained clearly in a lot of context. But I think a part of what we're imagining is a large enough group of people to carve out this space for themselves where they democratically, cooperate around their labor to meet their needs, and hopefully in a way that, generates enough surplus that they can bring more people into that process. And then they can determine, they shape their own lives. I think the next step and how we imagine it in the ideal scenario is that this body, this community acts as a node, which it's like an information center. It's there's organizational infrastructure that can field inquiries, that can field interests, and my hope would be that there's also a broader technology or whatever that can allow more people to asynchronously and spontaneously start to embark on these sorts of projects, ideally in climate secure regions, and start communicating with each other, and then start reinforcing each other in terms of, social, economic relations. And I wanted to bring this up on the point about scale that, David, we were talking about this thing about, how will it scale? And I had this like reaction to him saying that, because that's just one of the first things people go to when they just don't want, they're looking for a reason not to look into any of what we're saying.
Not to even humor it.
Yeah, they don't want to humor it. And one of the first things they say is scale. And I'm always just like, scale of what? What are you talking about? Like when you say scale, and like naturally, I think people are thinking, well, just, the amount of people, you want the most amount of people to be able to operate in this sort of way. And you have to sort of be like, yeah, but not like through one single centralized vehicle. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
And it's like, it's hard for, I think, some people to grasp, because we live in a relatively centralized society. We live under a centralized federal government, granted, it's really, the US is like a confederation of states, but it's centralized, it's like, it's bureaucratic, it's centralized. Yeah. And a part of what's implied in what we're saying is that these communities, these groups are at a localized scale. I'm not going to put a number to it, but it's at a localized scale. We're not talking about, states anymore. We're not even talking about necessarily the scope of a municipality necessarily. Mm-hmm. In the context of New York City, it could be a few blocks. It could be of a borough,
couple
right?
houses.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But people come together according to like chosen affinity and shared values and culture and whatnot. And it starts to quote unquote scale as other organizational bodies federate with these smaller nodes. Yeah. And so what's implied is just a more decentralized and distributed is more helpful, I think, because it's like these different groups, these different nodes, as we call them, they can start to collate, with each other, come together with each other, and that becomes like this social, cultural layer of trust that informs how other groups of people may be organized with each other.
Right.
But I've realized that I've never, at least I haven't spoken. I don't think we've spoken to that level of the conversation before. But I think it's really important, because when you kind of just put out some of the things we put out in a very general way, people maybe they're like, well, we're still living under nation states, like we're still living under these like coercive and it's like you keep critiquing nation states. Well, what are you proposing?
Well, and it's the point that it's like every idea offered is in reaction to the nation state or is compared to it.
Right.
Like
I think that's a through line.
It's like, can we just reset here? Like, does it have to be that?
Can we understand the nation state is not legitimate even?
Right.
Can we agree that is not legitimate?
Yeah, I think there's this like this notion of effectiveness that we have
efficiency.
Not even efficiency so much, but just like a thing working at all, where like it has to happen right before your eyes for it to be legitimate in any kind of way. And I think a lot of the things that we talk about are just not gonna be that. They're not gonna appear a certain way to people who are looking at it with one in bad faith and without like a experienced or like trusting eye. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, I think a lot of people have looked at us in the past and said like, well, what are you doing differently from these other YouTubers or streamers or whatever the fuck, because they don't see shit happening that they can perceive within the year that we've been working, and they don't perceive that it's a social thing, and that there are things happening behind the scenes that they just don't know about, and I think when you look at like unionization, they look at that as something that a lot of people can get behind, which as far as I'm concerned, it's because that's been fed to us as a revolutionary thing. And so a lot of people can get behind that and support it, whether it's with tweets or whatever. And they can give the appearance that it's effective because, well, we got ourselves a union. Now we're in negotiation. Now we're here. And they can see action happening. And in a way, it sort of like fetishizes this class conflict, or we can say we're sticking it to Starbucks, and we're doing all, when the reality is like as much as they fight, as much as they push back on action like that, it's not hurting them like that, but I think we're placated because we can see it. We can see that a thing is happening, even though we can't perceive the ways that it's failing us down the line.
That's such a good point on the the low bar of effective. And those same people will push back within a point on efficiency too. When you critique it, well, they go, well, just like the scale thing. It's like, how will it scale? That doesn't really sound. You're going to have efficiency problems. And
the whole point is this material like thing where it's like you have to produce something
on the market, a commodity,
because we only measure things by material, and then it ties back to the conversation about how we don't see anything, we don't see any internal progress. It's impossible for us to, it's harder for us to not only show those things but even just to acknowledge that they need to happen and exist.
It's also related to the people perceiving like the third worldist nation states as legitimate and like a winning thing as well, because we're still measuring things by commodity production, capital accumulation, coercive power. That's how we're in physical material infrastructure in a world where that shit is being built for nothing. People aren't even living in that infrastructure and they're building it. That kind of waste is going on.
Yeah, and when it's always focusing on the material too, it becomes this like kind of right wing thing of like, I don't care how much of a piece of shit you are, you deserve to get paid, right, man? And it's like, yeah, but like, what's causing them to be a piece of shit to begin with, you know?
Right. It's very Job.
I don't know. I wonder how
Gob.
Steve Job.
I feel I don't know. I feel really
horny.
It's a provocative thing for me to say, but I feel really, I know you feel similarly, you expressed it earlier, but feel really, both of y'all did actually, just feel really discouraged every time you see this like just the union as presented and like as the peak of some like just organization. It's presented as like there's the hype, and every time it's like every time, and it it's just discouraging, and I'm wondering when and how that can change, how what we're putting forward is like a more holistic view and like collection of like every tool in the toolkit type deal, a mix of institutions forming this body, like when a conception of that can pierce through and cut through.
Maybe when people look at the history of the National Labor Relations Board and say that at times its stated goal was to draw radical movements into a more legitimate pathway. Maybe that's a good place to start.
I'll say for myself, and there might be a bit of naivete here, but I do feel some optimism, seeing that at least it's a topic like class consciousness and capitalism fucking us is at least. I mean, it's kind of like, did you hear about the fire? And it's like we can't even see each other. There's so much smoke in the room. It's like, right, congrats, you're on board. But so I do feel it's very like, fuck, this is all getting funneled into just wheel spinning bullshit. Yeah. But I do feel like I'm at least glad we're not on just the surface of the moon right now, and no one's even like everyone, like there's at least some alertness. So I'm hoping that can transfigurate into.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a position where a lot of people still, for as active as people are, a lot of people still want to be told what to do, or what they can do. There are
told
people,
what they can tap into.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they can plug into.
Right. People want to see the thing, and they want to be like, okay, how can I contribute to this? And so,
where do I donate?
Yeah, right.
What relief fund do I?
Exactly.
My big thing is I agree with what you said, and I look at it as like energy, social and cultural energy.
Yeah.
And my big concern is not wanting that wasted.
Yeah.
That's my big concern. Because not everyone is going to be like us or like even like me, where, you know, in my political growth and education, I had to cycle through failed perspectives, tactics, whatever, for me to ultimately get, and even self-education to get to where I am today.
Right.
I think a lot of people will, you know, dip in, dabble in some of these tactics and really put their heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
And end up ramming their head against the wall, stepping out, and then saying there's nothing that can be done, or you know, there's no hope, and there's no, you know, and meanwhile you have this like a revolving door. You have people that are new to it trying to convince everyone that they're signaling this is the way, like this is how, you know, this is, you know, organize, join your union, you know, join your local whatever. It's like it's a revolving door.
DS3127 W4,
and it wears people out. It wears people out. I mean, I've met so many people, even just these last few years, that have done quote unquote organizing and all these different capacities for decades even, and some of them just hitting that, you know, that burnout thing, and you can just tell they're just like, you know, I've tried, you know, I've it's not this like bug of like what are the lessons or what can I, it's sort of
it's
just
like what
like
will work.
Right. No, it's just sort of I did it, and it clearly doesn't, there's nothing, you know, there's no, that's how people become like what boomer neoliberals that were the hippies, you know,
That's
in the
what-
counterculture.
yeah.
It's like
Right.
that's how that shit. It's a part of how that shit happens.
Well,
You just forget. You just lose. You kind of just
Yeah.
end up just assimilating back to cope and maintain
Yeah.
instead of trying to push back. You
Well,
know?
and a lot of the times there's a level of privilege of either
yeah.
class or race or otherwise.
yeah.
I mean, I certainly know, like, when fucking Bernie was out of the picture in 2020, you know, like, there is a degree of, like, well, I'll be fine. I mean, like, that, and I know that even the most, all the people that delude themselves the most are definitely still feeling that way. Because it's like, after all that shit happened, I was talking to other people that I was, like, canvassing with. They're like, well, yeah, we'll just keep trying. We'll just, you know, we'll just get more people to vote next time. And it's like, you're not being serious. Yeah, like you're just not being serious.
Can we talk about the Tennessee dudes on that point? The two, or at least I think at least one of them was a rep who got.
Oh, the dude that got kicked out of the whatever.
I don't follow the circus anymore, but I don't.
Oh man,
he's like the
I must
youngest-
really not, because I don't know shit.
I know who you're talking about, and the way he talks,
Justin Jones.
the way he
is
talks
one.
is so annoying to me. I'm sorry, but the way he talks like he's like 23 or something like that, and he talks like he was trained to talk like a politician. It's so like I don't know.
Oh,
man.
did it-
Like,
like,
do you not?
people go for it?
B-
They
b-
eat
bleep,
that
bleep
shit
her
up.
name. Bleep her name. But did tweet about this? I feel like I saw something about
I don't know.
it. Okay,
I've just
I don't
seen
even
it
want to
on-
give her name utterance,
Yeah, I've just seen it on like Democracy Now. and,
because
like,
I
whatever.
don't know.
I don't even know the story behind, but like I just watched him talk about getting what did he get? He got like kicked out of the. I have no idea.
I'm seeing
But the-
that.
But
They
the
protested against gun, I think it was like gun violence or something, and there was like 3 people, 2 of them were black and 1 was white. And then
Oh yeah, and the white one brought it back.
All right,
Yeah, okay.
hold on.
But-
His return representing Nashville's House District 22 put an exclamation point on a remarkable 100-hour stretch in which Jones and another black Democrat, Justin Pearson, lost their seats in an extraordinary, emotionally charged legislative session after calling for gun reform during a protest on the chamber floor.
Yeah. I mean,
So what happened?
Here's the thing. Here's the point I wanted to make was that in their speeches and in their performances, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
In their performances, they're doing this very weird, like, you know, like the term like community organizers like thrown out. When I was a community organizer and blah 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 blah, and now I'm here and I'm, you know, you threw me out and I speak for, you know, however X many people, and they're appealing to the state and the Constitution. They're doing this thing of like the shit that was said on paper is gonna somehow be magically activated with their superpowers. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna say this magical phrase, and all the people are gonna rise up, and then the Constitution is gonna glow blue, and then everyone's
The Constitution's a death note.
like, it's,
right.
you know, it's there's all this cognitive dissonance in what they're. I mean, it's beyond the point of like gun legislation to me. It's like there's a bigger, broader thing here, which is like you see how they treated you. You see how you see how the people treated you, and you're trying to forge a battle into an institution that is inherently it's founded upon the enslavement of people who look like you, and it's inherently against probably anything relatively egalitarian that you might have in your mind.
That's what I mean when I say like this fetishization of struggle, where it's like you really want people to see you fight for the thing, where it's like there are methods and
It's
ways.
28, by the way.
Oh wow,
which is
crazy. But like
that's Justin Pearson.
Oh, okay. I think maybe.
And
that-
so
So
trying to be
he's
the
a member of
what?
the House of Tennessee House of Representatives, represents the 86th district,
yeah.
and covers parts of the city of Memphis.
How old do you have
Okay.
to be a Congress person?
When he was sworn into office at the age of 28, Pearson became the second youngest lawmaker serving in the Tennessee House of Representatives.
Well,
I,
I
so
don't know.
gives you an idea.
Yeah, but I don't know the way. First of all, the way not Justin Pierce, the other one, the
Is
way
it
he
J- is
talks, it sounds like he just
Jones?
listened to
Wait, wait.
Jones. He talks like he
Both of their names are
listened to a
Justin.
bunch of he listened to a
So
bunch of
confusing.
MLK speeches. He's like, "We have been kicked out of this place of democracy," and like,
They're both reps,
He's
by the
feeling.
way.
He's feeling
From
himself.
the House
yeah,
of
out of this
Representatives.
sacred house of democracy.
Mhm.
And you look us in our
And he's
eyes
27.
as two young African men.
Democracy's the only
he's
10 I see.
He's 27. So 27,
He's
28
like,
years old. This is my revolving
democracy.
door point.
Mm-hmm.
This is my revolving door point.
Yeah.
Like AOC got in and it was this thing and it's like, oh, let's elect progressives and blah, blah, blah. This has been a thing for years, especially since Bernie. And it's like, you get those, you get those key performers in
yeah.
just to keep the mythology alive that this
Yeah.
is the way that we're going to forge our way to freedom through the state.
Yeah. I've been saying, I think like in some ways, when I was writing about it, I would specifically say presidents, but I think elected like politicians representatively elected politicians are more dangerous than kings in a lot of ways. Because it really obscures who the problem is. It's like, who the fuck is all this coming down from? And like, just
Right.
it's like these are immortal institutions, even more so than a president. Like David said, these people kind of project, kings project infallibility and like omnipresence and like infinite power and all these things when they can really only influence whoever's right next to them, and so people just move away from the fucking king. We're stuck as it is right now. Like if I want to leave this country, I got to get all this, I got to have a passport, I got to have all these things. And they have this like omnipresence and like there's this panopticon shit. You never know when you're being watched. And they all project this air of powerlessness. Every single one.
Right.
And you start that way. It's like these people coming in now as these
Right.
Oh
my
radicals
Right.
now have so much space to project that if only there was something I could do.
Yeah.
I have if they're so combative, they won't let me do what I want to do.
But, I mean,
I want to give you guys health care, but they won't let me.
yeah, they won't let me,
Right.
guys.
And
I asked them.
it's
Right.
like, at what point do we look at this situation and say, maybe none of these people know the law,
Yeah.
and even if they did, they wouldn't care. Maybe that's what's going on. And maybe the people that are coming in, they start out projecting powerlessness because they are, in terms of what they want to do, they are powerless. And then they gradually acquiesce and continue with that narrative, but they just don't give a shit anymore.
It's funny that that point about kings and queens, because it's like, yeah, it's like back in the day, king wasn't really. Well, you didn't have a social security number or some shit like that. Like you could fucking, you've seen it in media. You just kind of sneak into the king's chambers.
And also, you kill the king and you get to be the king. That's kind of hard.
Is that really how it worked? I mean, hey,
I'm sure it's in some places.
they're like, anyone who gets me, it's fair
like,
game.
If you can figure out,
Fuck my kids.
if you can figure out how to kill the king, then it's like, oh, that was really impressive. Wow.
They did it one time, and they did it in Dallas in 1963. They shot our king.
Speaking of
If
politicians,
this was monetized, it would be demonetized.
speaking of politicians, do y'all know about Eric Mays?
Mays I do, Mays I don't.
Do I have the floor? Do I?
Oh, yeah,
yes,
this guy.
yeah.
We both realized.
Thank you very much.
I can't speak without having someone overtalk me, point of order, and also make many
this guy rules.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, is that in order, Mr. President?
He represents the second form of freedom, which is.
You're the dude.
Point of order.
He's that. He's that.
Be removed if he persists in calling.
He's mimicking and he out of order basically. That has nothing to do with what the motion that's on the floor.
Councilman Mays, don't
Don't you interrupt me when I start talking, so don't.
Mr. Mays, you are out of order, and I'm giving you your warning. Disorderly.
I'm sorry.
I rule you out of order, and I ask that you would be dismissed from this meeting.
Nope. And the actual hearing what he said, this gon' stop. I don't care nothing about no rules. This gon' stop. I'm like, I don't care nothing about no rules. Now what type of...
We have got to help the city of Flint.
Oh, this is the
We've
best
got
one.
to move the city forward. We have got to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Miss Herkenroth, you the reason that I'm a vote the way I'm a vote, because you tried to put words in my mouth like I said you was a racist. You got to stop doing that. You got to stop doing that.
He's that. I was gonna say he's that. What is it? The second form of freedom, which is like the freedom to disobey.
I want to get the beginning. I want to get the beginning just so we have it.
The floor. Do I have the floor? Do I?
Yes, you do.
Thank you very much.
What a fool! Yeah, Flint, Michigan, First Ward Councilman Eric Mays.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He's blowing up on TikTok. It's insane.
How does there just out the gate a compilation? Like there's
multiple compilations.
No,
There's
I know that's the one I've
tons.
seen, but it's just like they got footage of this guy.
I don't know that I even had a point. I just
he's fired.
Just
hilarious.
Maybe that's the best they can do.
Yeah, I find it entertaining, I guess is my point.
You know what, folks? I think if we can all get in a room and yell at each other,
I
it's
find
a little
it
bit
more
better
entertaining than the Dr. King attempts. The attempts at Dr. King, that the Tennessee.
Yeah, I think
reps.
The only thing Dr. King ever campaigned for is for people to talk like this. he had no interest in labor relations or anything of such. He did not die defending sanitation workers' rights.
Also, knowing history, even just like of the like the 80s, 90s, of like just the arcs of all of these politicians and like people in government, you can totally see these two just ending up like fucking Van Jones in like 30 years or something.
Yeah.
Like they just get their spot. That's the other part of it. It's like there's a logic to that world.
Right.
They are like actors. They are performers. I've met politicians. They are like actors. They actually act like actors off the camera, like when they're off the camera. You know what I mean? Like it's just all just like very delusional. Is how I would describe it.
And he talks like a fucking ghost.
Delusional.
We are in this house of democracy. Yeah. Ooh, I have a dream.
It makes you wonder what it would be like if poor and working class people built power from below, so much so that they could put reps as true delegates. They're not representatives. They're delegates. They're only there to execute the will of this broader democratic body rooted in democratic social and economic relations. What would their conduct in these situations be like? There'd probably not be drama. There'd probably not be as much. It would just be like, oh, you know, like I'm just here to. Yeah, I'm here to just do this.
There's not just like
baked in, like you just want this for your own fucking power.
Right.
It's not
they all feel that way about each other.
Right.
They all know that's true.
It's not this careerist shit.
And then you have like a young person who's like, "Oh, I'm not a cynic," and then they're like, "Yes, you are. You just don't know it yet. Like, shut up."
Right.
But yeah, they respond to capital. They're all there responding to capital and power. It's so fundamental and it's so simple also. People understand that the government and everything is ran by money.
Yeah.
People understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you start to form a more concrete picture in your mind of what that looks like, what the practice of that is, like this is included. This is a part of it, you know? So, and I'm sorry, like you're not going to use the exceptions getting in and giving these beautiful, you know, elaborate, powerful speeches to do this like exception as the rule thing with me. You know, like we know what the government is. We know what the state is. We know what it does. Right. So even if you do get in there, if the lucky one gets in there, who holds you accountable? Truly, who can actually directly and democratically hold you accountable? It doesn't exist. There's no directly democratic culture or organizational bodies or movements or anything. So you're just performing really well until you're not, I guess, until people feel like.
It's a lot like how Drizzy had transferable skills from Degrassi.
Right.
Now I can pretend I'm cool.
I don't know, man. Sometimes I can't comprehend the hoops some people have to be jumping through at this stage of the game to just
what's in
to live and operate. I'm sorry, I'm really thinking of AOC more than anyone else. You know,
let's talk about it.
I'm thinking of her because she knows.
AOC more like AOL.
Yeah, she be sounding like
you got mail. Ass.
Right. AOC and Bernie, because they're not dumb.
Yeah.
They're not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, this is the hill that you're gonna. It's not even just. It's more than just you. You're actively. What's the expression? Sheep dogging people into fucking. The hill that they're onto the hill that they're going to die on. You're like playing a role in that. And then when there's this thing of you can do more, you can go outside the box. It's this, look, I'm just one person. You know? What am I? I'm just one. It's like no one is expecting you to fucking be Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? Or Superwoman or super non-binary, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like no one's expecting you to be
person.
Person. I'm sure if we check the etymology of person, there's some man space shit in there.
The soup person.
Soup person.
Yeah. But yeah,
the Ubermensch.
It's almost an extension of what we're trying to say is like artists and creatives. It's like if you have a platform and a voice and millions of people are fucking listening to you and looking to you for leadership, you can fucking galvanize people for something different if you really want to do that. You know?
Or you can make big platitudes about coming down from the hilltop.
Mm.
And you can tell the people that they reside in a sacred space for democracy that only a select few people are allowed into or out of. And in fact, there's probably a lot of police around the building to keep it that way.
I'm just waiting. The week the MLK AI voice starts going around, we're fucked.
It's over. It's over, bro.
Yeah.
I the more I think about it, I'm like, politicians, the quote unquote best ones, really are almost like actors who couldn't hack it in Hollywood or something, and then they're like, well, I can act and get my bag still.
It's remembering lines.
I can act and still get a bag.
That's realer than you know, though.
A lot of comedians.
There's
too.
a fucking epidemic of comedians going hard right wing.
Yeah.
And finding places in government. Fucking Kellyanne Conway did stand up at one point. What's his name? Chris Cantwell, the
Crowder
fucking Nazi.
I think
Crowder tried it.
I think even the actual Nazi
Chris Cantwell. Oh, Richard Spencer?
Yeah, I think he even tried stand up at one point.
Gavin McInnes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ran Vice. Also, the guy from Daily Wire who was an actor, the guy who said transology should be exterminated or whatever the fuck.
And
Michael something.
I don't remember his name.
He's like a Matt Walsh adjacent guy at Daily Wire, like the skinnier guy with like the freaky like Spy Kid smile.
I'm not up on the Daily Wire lore. But also fucking Tyler Fisher, who we fucking weirdo, who used to just be around Brooklyn, and he was funny. He was really funny. Good impressionist. Just like don't understand all of the other ones. The one defining trait is they were all bad at stand up. They were really terrible. Yeah. Tyler was different. Yeah, he was really fucking funny.
That's really sad.
And
I think it's because that video is not funny in any way.
Embarrassing.
I think it's a narcissism. I think it's just fundamentally a narcissism, and then obviously the worst case, it's just money and power. But I think in the best cases, quote unquote, over that, it's a narcissism.
Yeah, it
has to be, because for you to be so entrenched in that world and claim the values that you claim 1,000,001 different ways, and claim to do it to help people, and not sort of like transparently and openly acknowledge and accept these contradictions and try and pivot or move differently with them in mind. What else would you be sitting up there for? What else would you still be sitting up there for?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like it's like celebrity. It's like, I get
she went to the Met Gala.
Yeah, magazine covers and whatever, and I'm friends with all these celebrities, and I'm basically like the popular kid in high school, and I get everything that I want.
That's why I think there's so much merit to like rethinking of the word selfish and selfishness. Just like, we're doing this shit to make sure we're good, and then to like hopefully create a roadmap for other people to get good.
Right?
It's like I'm not out here telling anybody that I'm gonna save them. I'm gonna organize them into a union of artists, and like we're finally gonna stick it to the big billionaires. No, I'm tired, man. And I know everybody else. I know y'all are tired. Nobody. I don't think anybody who's really serious is gonna come to you saying they're there to save you, or they're there to liberate you, or they're there to do anything for you. They're gonna be honest and say, like, I have needs that I want met, and I think the best way to meet my needs is also to meet your needs.
Right.
Right. There's a selfishness in collectivity, that we could foster, as opposed to these fucking like thousands of little cults of personality.
Right.
Like, I can't keep track of all these fucking people. I've never met any of them. Right. I've never been within like earshot of any of them,
Right.
And they claim to represent me. Like, I could give less of a fuck. I've been in SAG for 3 years, 4 years, maybe. That's fucking crazy.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, I'm trying to get health insurance. That's what I want. Or live in a world where we don't need health insurance. And
you just want everything handed to you.
And just say, I have a fucking body, and your body should be health insurance. Like, what? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes before we stop trying to like rescue each other.
It's like put your fucking oxygen mask on before you put the
right.
Exactly, bro.
Right.
Like, you're not being selfish by doing that.
Yeah.
And also, that motivation is going to last you a lot longer than this delusion that you're going to be some kind of savior of the world or part of some kind of like group of like some political party or whatever of heroes that change everything.
Yeah.
Like no, like you're not gonna give a fuck about anything but yourself and how the environment you're in affects that.
Yeah.
That's really all you care about.
Right.
You don't want people fucking begging for change on the street. Have you considered that's like something you personally have an interest in? It's like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you just maybe realize that, you know, things being shit actually does have personal selfish enticements to it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Incentives.
Yeah. It's all these like little microcosms of like savior complexes, you know.
Right.
Who was saying Oscar Wilde just was like a socialist because he didn't want to see homeless people on the street? Someone said that.
I talk about Oscar Wilde. He has this really brilliant piece on charity, critiquing charity, and how that's a problem. It's related, funnily enough. Yeah.
He wrote Ernest Goes to Camp. Is that right?
Ernest Goes West, I think. I don't even know that movie at all, but it's so funny. It just goes west.
That's my impersonation.
That's all I got. Just him as Sleepy.
Woody, Adley, Bob, Adley.
That's all I know.
Come back, Woody.
Woody, no. Woody, don't dip that blunt in cough syrup, Woody. It'll do too much.
That's angel dust, Woody.
Yeah, that's PCP, Woody. You don't know what's in there.
I didn't know you like to get wet, Woody.
Andy's been dropping these rubber ghosts from the bed every night. I don't know what the hell that is.
You say rubber ghosts.
You ever explain that?
I think we know what that is.
Oh,
I think you know what that is.
It took me a second. Holy shit.
It's getting real spooky down here, Woody.
I think there's a leak in the bed.
There's cum in my boot.
Yeah. There's a drop of cum in my boot. There's a drop of pre-cum in my boot.
Hadley, Bob, this floor smells like Cheetos.
Woody!
Oh, don't go there. That part of the floor is sticky.
Woody, no!
That's called sticky swamp. We don't go over there.
You're starting to sound like what's his name from Breaking Bad?
Gummy.
Hank Schrader.
Yeah, sleep.
Like the pig's voice.
Oh,
Woody!
Speaking of,
There's cum, Woody!
Speaking of,
Hey, Woody, what's that sticky spot in the corner?
Hey, bro.
I was on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Woody.
Buzz Lightyear. This
Woody,
is another
there's,
timeline where I was
of-
Buzz Lightyear.
Woody, there's cum on the floor, Woody.
Speaking of Hank Schrader, I was on Dean Norris's Instagram some weeks back and found out he is not too dissimilar from his fucking character. He is a full-blown right-wing capitalist motherfucker. I'm gonna see if I can access. I'm gonna see if
say who it is.
saying his
Who did you
page
say it
isn't
is again?
available. Dean Norris.
Oh, damn, that's sad.
Saying his page isn't available.
Guy named after Dean Martin and Chuck Norris. His right wing.
Yeah,
I want to see if I can.
Bitter. You wouldn't believe. Dean Norris turns out is kind of a capitalist.
Dear God.
Yeah. The boys.
Hey, Peter. The guy who plays Hank in Breaking Bad's a fucking Police Lives Matter piece of shit.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the worst. That's the one. That's the worst one to me.
The poison.
Oh, dude.
The poison for Cusco. The poison chosen
As much as
specially
I
to kill
hate
Cusco.
libs, I just
Cusco
like,
is
I will
poison.
tolerate a million pretentious libs before one fucking.
Right.
It's a black and white flag with a blue line in the middle of it. Like that.
Right.
That Punisher logo, you're gone. You could be the most pretentious piece of shit if you're just not rocking the Punisher logo.
Bro.
There's a doozy that I'm looking for as we speak. I don't even want to describe it. I want to just pull it up on the screen.
They're the thin blue line between us and two other groups of black people on other sides of it.
Yeah. And then some whites on their side too.
And then some more
scary.
and then some more blacks on top. And then it's kind of, it kind of goes like it's a bit like the Stankonia flag. We stole it from Outkast actually. We stole it from the Stankonia logo and then we just put a little blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made that in Microsoft Paint actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna go get shot in the line of duty. For a job I volunteered for.
Hey, don't wait up for me. I'm gonna go get shot in the line of duty.
Yeah.
I'm a firefighter actually.
Yeah.
I just go hang with them.
Anyways, I'm gonna go get diabetes and work and play on my phone in a bulletproof vest.
I got terminal diabetes.
I'm gonna
actually.
eat my third bag of Sour Patch Kids and go play fucking Temple Run on my phone at the fucking Marcy Ave G train stop.
I somehow gave myself type 1 diabetes. I got the one that you're born with by accident.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
It's actually a diabetes you only get from bloodlust.
Yeah, this is vampire
it's type
diabetes.
L diabetes.
This is vampire diabetes. It's Dracula type diabetes.
Yeah.
Can turn into a bat now, but also my blood's coagulating.
Yeah.
I fucking hate Instagram. Fucking make you fucking sign in. Just a goddamn look at a fucking picture.
Gotta
man.
get out of this goddamn box.
Platforms like YouTube, Patreon, Spotify, they're all ass. They don't respect your privacy, they're riddled with ads, and they're completely silent and unreachable when you need help. Have you ever talked to somebody at YouTube? Think about that. I sure haven't. To top it all off, we don't control them at all, despite being the reason they exist.
So that's why we're partnering with a design and development agency called 400 Million D&D to build our own cooperative alternatives that bring the best features of all those platforms together and that we can control together too.
We seriously got to have an exodus to some sort of digital Zion that we build ourselves. Somewhere where all of us can actually have a say over the technology that we're using to communicate with each other. For more on how you can support us all in getting off these shitty platforms, visit opencollective.com/digital Zion and tap in.
Just because these dystopian systems are eating themselves alive
doesn't mean they gotta take us with them.
Instagram's
All
gonna
right,
be
it
a
was
bro.
worth it. Look at this shit. Look at this shit.
Oh,
Got me.
man.
What does it say?
New York's finest.
66 weeks ago?
Thanks for your service, officers.
Wait, December 31st, 2021.
He did these back to back. This was the one you're looking at now is the second one. This was the first one.
Out in force. Long day for these guys. Thank you for keeping us safe, officers.
He really thinks he's a cop. That's
Look at this L. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
I don't know. Waldo's cookies acting kind of sus lately. How the fuck am I getting Breaking Bad spoilers in this comment section? Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Unbased.
Unbased.
Facts back to blue. Can't spell Dean without DEA. Watch all the BLM supporters and follow you for this post.
Oh my
Lol.
god. Sussy Baka.
Hank.
Yeah.
DEA.
I think some actors
I
just
thought it was
get
gonna be
in
worse
too
than
deep,
that,
man.
honestly. That's just like every boomer dad.
It's worse when you see it next to his pictures, like where he owns this, like, I don't know if it's a ranch or a restaurant or whatever, but it just paints he's basically like,
I'm the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
I'm
petty bourgeoisie.
He's bourgeoisie.
Oh.
Yeah, he's bourgeoisie.
Oh, got me.
Yeah.
I got those Breaking Bad checks. Oh, I'm rich.
They just a few years
Epstein's
ago,
Island, whole thing.
his wife and him like just spent $6 million on this. I don't even remember what it was. Let me look this up.
Wow.
Just from calling guys the B word on TV for
Right.
most of the 2010s.
Right. What did he do? Yeah. Purchased the Swing Inn Cafe, a long-standing restaurant in Old Town Temecula for $6 million.
Temecula, where's that?
Temecula, California.
Temecula, yeah.
Wow. Dean Norris, television cop, right wing.
Yeah.
Fuck. I think some actors just get in too deep and they really just like.
He's like, hey, Vince. Seems like this character's a little flawed. Maybe shouldn't be a cop. What's going on with that?
Maybe let me use this as an excuse to go on a couple of ride-alongs.
Yeah. It seems like you're saying the gangs and the cops are of equal moral non-fortitude. I don't know what I'm saying.
Vince will be, well, that's none of my business.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I wrote it. I wrote it, make sure Breaking Bad.
What he does with his money is none of my business.
Well, the El Loco Vincento is. I was going to write him in season 4, but man, I was writing Breaking Bad. I wanted to make it.
Have you ever heard his voice?
Yeah, that's how he sounded. Right. Yeah, when I was writing Breaking Bad, I had to come up with a character named Loco Tuco. I had to come up. I was eating Del Taco, and I thought that'd be a cool guy. Crazy Tuco, Loco Tuco. It's one of those impressions where only one word really gets you there, and it's when I was writing Breaking Bad. It's just that's the Arizona or the New Mexican accent.
Breaking Bad.
He's from Virginia,
or you were like Carolina, whatever that dialect in, but it's just like a very laid back Southern gentleman,
Yeah. Southern pride.
And I do like Shania Twain. That's why I wrote that in.
I've been trying to find an image of him to pull up as you do this voice.
Well, Ricky in the highlight, Ricky dropped in a picture of him talking at like something. It was really fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah. All right, Breaking Bad.
Well, I was writing Breaking Bad.
I do. It's not
Made
even,
sure that
it's not even words that come out.
I was like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, my favorite character was Combo, actually, because she's got those teeth, and I'm sure writing Breaking Bad and make sure that, Conan, when I'm writing Breaking Bad, I make sure that there's at least one oh shit moment per episode. Now there I am. Look at me.
I made a fortune.
You're never gonna guess what happens in season 4, bitch. You're never gonna.
I was actually gonna.
I have no idea.
I never actually got around to this, but I was gonna make a big reveal in season 4 that his name Combo is actually short for combination. That's on his birth certificate.
Combination.
That's on his birth certificate.
And it's because I like the nation state. I
like the nation state, and I like Combs. I like Combs.
You guys might know this guy to my right. That's Walter White. That's Bryan Cranston who played the maker. Oh, there I am again. Sony and AMC. Shout out to them. Thanks for letting us make Breaking Bad. I have 3 mustaches on my face somehow. I have 3 separate mustaches. One for the upper, one for the bottom, and one for the chin.
My chin looks like the top of my head in a funhouse mirror.
I look like I'm trying to do a whistle in every picture. Like I'm trying to do the whistle in every picture. I look like I'm trying to whistle someone at a ranch.
I love his suits. Just how.
Oh my God. Yeah, we won an award tonight. I have the most triangular jawline in the show.
It's like, I got this tie at Dan Flash's.
We won the Saturn Award for
show.
I got this tie at Dan Flash's. It's real expensive because the pattern is so complicated. Actually,
they got me on my swag shit.
Oh shit!
Wow!
You see me, everybody on them New Balances. I've been wearing
they don't let everybody wear their regular clothes in a GQ shoot. But
I've been wearing them newbies for decades now.
Yeah.
Now it's the shit.
The director of their shoot said, "Let's do just nothing. Let's kind of just aim for nothing." We have a chair here.
Lean back, let my belly poke out.
They saw what I was already wearing. They said, "Yeah, you look great."
Yeah, there's a PA sitting in this chair, so I said, "Give me that," and I just said, "Hey, watch what I can do." And
I said, "My pants are kind of tight around the crotch nether region."
Yeah, I said, "Get the curvature of the belly just subtly right there."
I said, "Hey, can you get me like mid action and kind of do a freeze frame like it's SNL?"
I just wanted to show them what I did in middle school when I had to pick up a pen that dropped behind me. I'd lean back in my chair.
Could you pull the cuff of my sleeve out a little bit so I look like Dracula?
And this one, they shoved me behind the door and they said,
"This is a 14K picture."
They said, "Look here," and they snapped.
This is a 70K resolution picture of me under a sewer.
Yeah, before we did Breaking Bad, I was actually going to do a little remake of Nosferatu.
Yeah,
and this is me back behind my barnyard.
And that was called Drinking Blood.
You make me sick, bro.
That's my new goal. Is to just discuss you doing it.
Drinking Blade. Oh, drinking Blade.
Let me feel icy.
That's me before I got the hair plugs.
Jesus, is that him?
So
like, this was me when I was the guy that killed himself at Enron.
All these girls excited. I'm so
and this is unfortunately.
I look like I did financial crimes. In
this
the
is
90s.
Unfortunately after Breaking Bad money. You can see it.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck it, I'm growing it out."
This is the most normal picture of him that I'm gonna pull up.
Whoa.
Oh. Wow.
He looks normal. Yeah,
He just
in
looks
there.
like a guy.
He looks like he has.
He looks like he lives in Bushwick.
He looks like he
Yeah.
has a non-successful amount of body fat percentage. Like that's how you know. Like he hasn't gotten that Hollywood money yet to really fatten him.
It's a
up.
nice sweater
like-
too. Nice glasses.
Yeah, this is me after I fled to Russia for cyber crimes.
Yeah, I was texting with Julian Assange when I was before I wrote Breaking Bad, and then he
Before
just
I
gets
wrote Breaking Bad.
progressively
Crazier.
Shout out Vince, we love you, or your show. I don't know you as a person, but I'm sure you're cool.
Oh my God.
Where we at on time?
I was about to ask.
It's damn near 11:30.
God, damn it, mate.
You said so. It's 1 hour 50.
1 hour 50. You said. Oh, okay.
Oh goddamn.
Oh, so we got time. I thought that shit too.
well,
2 hours and 48 minutes.
Well,
already.
goddamn.
Yeah, you tricked me. Okay, you tricked me.
What else on your mind?
I've just been playing Resident Evil 4.
Been
And
playing.
it's fucking amazing.
Been on Ghostwire Tokyo.
That also is
Fire.
amazing.
Fire.
Did you play any of the original Resident Evil? Yeah, you liked Resident Evil 2, right?
I just watched Let's Play years ago for the GameCube remake many years ago.
Yeah.
Of Resident Evil 2?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
They remade 2, 3, and 4 in like PS5 graphics.
Yeah. Yeah. They remade
4 is
Silent Hill
incredible.
2 also.
Oh,
Yeah, I got to play all these. I was never into horror survival games or Resident Evil or anything. And now I think I'm into.
I'm so over the remakes, man.
Yeah.
I've just never
I
played them,
can't.
so I don't. I'm like,
Right.
oh, yippee! I can try it now. I don't have to get a PS1.
Yeah.
Emulators.
I fuck with emulators. I've been
You ever had a
playing
Dolphin?
I've been playing fucking
I want to play the Metal Gear Solid games on emulator, but PS3 emulators are kind of hard to do.
Yeah. I've been playing Breath of the Wild on Simu emulator. I just turned on all the mods and just like because I beat it twice on Switch already and I want to 100% it, so I'm just like I got the mods on, just like unlimited arrows, just can't take damage. I'm just trying to get to where I was on Switch.
That's
and
sick.
then turn
And then
everything
play
on.
around.
Yeah. It's been
Yeah.
fun.
God,
It's a good time, man.
just the things that, just talking about outside of the relations that they are made under, the things we are able to make are so incredible. The quality that we're able to make, the technology is just amazing.
To your point, the point you've always made, that's in spite of the coercive logics
Right, it's
under
always in
which
spite
they're
of it.
made, right?
Yeah.
That these great things manage to get out. So it's like, what would happen?
Yeah.
if we didn't have to live under these logics?
Oh, bro.
What would we?
Well, and
create?
we actually decided, it's like, okay, do we want millions to go towards a Resident Evil 4 remake, or do we just want to make a game inspired by the better parts of Resident Evil and make a totally new franchise story, idea, concept?
Right. It's like I think about this a lot. It was like in terms of like acting, all the best movies or scenes and or shows are always the scenes where they're just like, yeah, we just let them go.
Right.
We just rolled cameras and just let them talk. And it's like maybe the person that improvises the best shit you've ever heard in your life should be in the writer's room or something like that. Or
Right.
maybe it should be a collaborative process of some kind before we get to day of shooting,
It's funny how I'm so interested by acting from a labor relations standpoint, because these actors are so powerful in a way, and they have no juice also in another way. It's like they're
It's
you know
the
what I mean?
most-
It's like their lives are totally just at the whim of the tides.
It's the most like neutered position of authority I've ever seen in my life.
I think that's why Tropic Thunder depicted that Ben Stiller character so well, because he's so cucked by like his agent and the director and everybody, but he's like he's a mega star. He's like supposed to be a Bruce Willis, but
it's the most typical shit of just like when like small powerless people exercise power in every way that they possibly can find. Like, would you really be like like getting pissy over like a coffee or some shit or dumb shit like that if you had any real power that you could throw around? You know, would you really be acting that way? Like, no, probably not.
Yeah,
it wouldn't even cross your mind.
It's just sickening to be that person too.
Yeah,
like it's so degrading.
Yeah, and it's like you can see in their eyes that they feel like they're supposed to be this way.
Well, it's like I had to deal with this, so now you do too. Even if you didn't really have to deal with it as much as that person or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like I had to. This is a dog eat dog town. This is how it is. You know?
Yeah, right. And like I don't know, man. Like having been on sets, it like just people reinforce that in the weirdest ways, man. I would try to do everything in my power to be like, when I was on sets, like, because they treat you in this way of just like, no, let me handle that. You don't have to worry about that. And I did everything in my power to be like, hey, we're two people standing here, and there's a thing that you can't carry. I'm gonna carry it, whether you want me to or not. I don't care. I don't care about the union rule that says I can't. You know, I'm gonna pick it up. And I don't know.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that you're not allowed. Like, that's crazy.
Right. You know? It's like, just don't pay me for it. I'm getting paid for something else. Yeah, you know, it's just like, it's weird, man.
I won't speak for Max, but I know he's been on tour. He finished it, but he was on tour with Newfound Glory, and like, depending on kind of what the vibe is, it's like each venue has a different workforce. Yeah. Some of them will be like, you're not touching shit.
Yeah.
And some will be like, yeah, let's just get this shit out of here together.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Bro, I mean, having like installed sets and in all types of different places, it's like you go some places where they pay a guy to just work the elevator. That's a whole union. That is a whole union, and you can't do one of the most basic things in the history of things without the guy that's supposed to push the button. Like, when you talk about institutionalizing, and this is not to devalue the people that do that, but the job, absolutely. It's like you talk about job creation, really, like, that phrase should highlight a fundamental problem, is that these things need to be created.
Yeah.
You know, they're not based on any type of real need, aside from maybe the need of the owners of the building to not get sued. You know, it's like, let me just fucking push the button. Let me get to where I'll take the fucking stairs. I don't care. It's just like, let's just do work in a way that makes sense and not worry about all this fucking litigation. You know, it's I could go on about this forever, but like, yeah.
No, I feel you 1,000,000%. I'm gonna use the restroom.
I feel like there's a million layers of artificiality that gets in the way of people being able to make
you're good.
Dope things.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know, just when everything is structured in a way that also creates an inherent barrier to the complexity of a workplace. When you say like, oh, these people have to stay in this lane and these people have to stay in this lane, and you never really get a sense of who's capable of crossing over into the other realms, which are at the stage right now the most simple shit, you know. You just never really get a sense of what a workplace can actually be, and you also are pigeonholing all these people into a very particular a particular form of labor, or these people just don't have any like they have one specialized skill is what I'm trying to say, and that ultimately it's just so limiting and actually lends more power to the people that benefit from having like an unemployed worker base on standby at all times. You know, it's like, I don't know, man.
The broader space has nothing to do with human potentialities or you know, human desire or wants. It's a coercive game of get in where you fit in, and if you don't fit in the way that I like it, get the fuck out.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just on the key word in all of that, I feel like, is space.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know, Bookchin writes, you know, about the distinction between, there's different levels and kinds of space. And Bookchin writes about the distinction between space and territory. And territory, you know, being a, you know, space in which all of these social and cultural wants, desires, needs are determined and acted upon. And I feel like that's a core piece of a lot of the things we're putting forward, is that enough of us have to come together and put our time, energy, and resources together to open up space, infrastructure, and develop it to where it becomes territory in this way that, you know, Bookchin describes it,
right?
Where all of those things for everyone is centered in how people participate and collaborate and do things with each other, you know?
Right.
And if anything, I would argue that's like a center part of where I'm coming from with this whole union thing. It's like how you're starting off on such a horrible foot.
Yeah.
How could you ever really expect to find any of these things in your own personal life? Where do you see any of that in where these demands are, you know, and like where your imagination is? And are you really content on just making more money as everything corrodes and collapses around us?
Yeah.
Or could you possibly live a much more fulfilled life and simultaneously not have to worry about your material security?
Right.
Is it not possible for us to find a collective means by which those individual aims get addressed without the state stamping it, or, you know, whatever, like your hero or whatever stamping it, your idol or stamping it?
Yeah. And big thing for me is even if you could give less of a shit about ecology and
if you couldn't give less
of a shit about ecology, or the slow creep of fascism, authoritarianism, it's already here, but the narrative says it's coming.
It's getting worse, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But like, even if you don't give a shit about those things, it's like there's a vision for just a more holistic creativity than what can be produced in an environment where somebody is the boss of the ideas, you know, like what, like you go in and there's a showrunner and there's producers and there's this hierarchy of writers where you're a staff writer, story editor, executive story editor, all of these things, and they're getting paid different amounts. They get different amounts of time on the script. You know, some people are on for a 20-week contract, other people are just on and they're just getting paid that salary and they can stay on or leave whenever they want. It's like there's such an imbalanced contribution and an imbalanced expectation of contribution in environments like that, that like I just don't really understand how you can really be fulfilled creatively in a space like that. And I mean, maybe you're just in it for the money, in which case I don't get it.
I do want to say on that point too, just to, I don't know, from my side, add more, I guess, nuance to that point. You know, none of this is to say, the core piece is democracy, right? So none of this is to say that everyone should get paid the exact same amount, or that everyone should have the same amount of say in every single domain of a production. The point is that people collectively and democratically decide who gets what, why, and when, and they come to an agreement around that. Right. So me as for example, being a composer, I will maybe I sign on to a project with a director, and my first goal is to serve that director's vision and story through music, to complement it with the music. And I'll have my own position, my own views on, you know, how I think things should be, and my own rationale, my own, you know, explanation for things. But, you know, I'll ultimately want to serve this person's vision, but that's a decision that I'd be making in that scenario. Right. It's like, what say does the gopher, quote unquote, the PA or the you know, the AD or whatever, what say do they have when you're actually on set shooting things in the day-to-day? You know, how does everyone come to make a decision about how much of their labor is, you know, when it's the hours have just gone too long and people are tired and they want to, you know, pack it in and go home. What's the process for that? You know, and like, what's at stake in a scenario where people don't want to maybe go as hard or whatever. It's like, that's where you start getting into a more granular discussion about democratic process and decision making, and, you know, what people get for their labor contributions in these contexts. And
well,
that is just so,
as an actor, writer, and camera op, all I know is I'm taking home 3 checks, so we're good.
3 separate checks.
3 separate checks.
But the reality is so far away from that. You know, it's like, and it's the frustration I feel is, I say it all the time, like, power and authority aren't going anywhere. It exists. It's just a question of whether or not people want to acknowledge as much as they can, right, that it's there, and decide democratically how they want to deal with it in a particular context. And the frustrating thing that I feel in the context of entertainment is that sometimes you have people who, I don't know, they think that if there isn't this very militant, you know, top down order, well, then shit is going to get out of hand, because you're dealing with a lot of creative people that have, you know, and very opinionated people, and so they're all gonna want to have a say, and it's gonna ruin the project in some way, shape, or form. It's like there's what
does getting out of hand mean when that industry is rape is just so prevalent throughout it? It's like,
getting out of,
I'm saying, right. Just listen to what you're saying. It's just like, my thought is, isn't any of this an improvement? I mean, at democracy itself, I feel like people don't even really realize what that actually being.
I think it's more of this narcissism and like paternalism thing.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of that.
Their rationale is that it becomes a too many cooks thing is real, in my personal opinion. I 100% think that in certain contexts, like you have to, it's to David's point, you have to recognize expertise. I believe that in organization. It's not like everyone should have a say, but like there should be a mutual acknowledgement of like, this person put the hours in on this very specific thing, and it's serving us. It's why we got here.
Right.
And so we have to keep that in mind when we're giving our input and when we're whatever. I agree with that, right? But I think in these people's minds, some of them want to be they're still dreaming about being the boss. They're still dreaming about just commanding, like they have a Stanley
or being
Kubrick
of the boss class or whatever.
well, they have just this creative, like this Kubrick
I see what you're saying,
sort of thing. Like I'm just gonna be this like intimidating person on the set, and I'm gonna have full control over just like all these people and all these things. That's in the worst of cases. And then maybe in like the milder cases, their lack of understanding around democratic process and consensus decision making, and also intentionality in building your team, choosing the people with whom you'd like to work. And that it's not just like anybody, but their lack of understanding and experience with that just makes it that they're just iffy. It's just a fuzzy, very fuzzy idea to them. And like, and the way I conceive of like a democratic production process on a film or whatever is where a group of people come together. They all have different skills. They all have different whatever, and they communicate what they want to do, what they're comfortable doing, maybe what they'd like to try out, what they'd like to experiment with. And they also have a discussion about each and every person's domain. Right. That's another thing about sociocracy is that people have domains. That means there's a boundary. It means people say you're gonna have the final say on this, right? I'm gonna give my input, and we trust each other enough that we listen to each other.
Yeah.
We listen and try to receive constructive input, but this is your domain and you're gonna have the final say here.
Right.
And just in having those things together at the start, we're already talking about such a much more humanized and compassionate.
Oh, I mean, can I just say, like, does any of that sound like it needs to be enforced by gunpoint?
Right.
Exactly.
Because that's basically the only difference between what you're talking about and what we're talking about. We're talking about somewhere we don't, because that's the thing that with the David episode that really sunk in for me is like, we need to stop talking about this state like it's just an alternative form of organization. It's a full consent of use of violence by a structure. You know what I mean? Like by a giant centralized structure.
Well, it's coercive. There is no consent.
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm saying consent in the sense that you're saying it's a good thing, that this is how things should be. Like you voted for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. It's like no. It's not a difference of opinion of like it's a top-down hierarchy, but everyone's just like cool with that.
Right.
No, it's like no one gets a fucking choice in your system.
Right.
So
and people,
you're duplicating a system where everyone's in it not by choice. So now you're going to choose to replicate the same thing. It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
And I think another, it's tied to your community point in the context of comedy, inherent in what I'm saying too, because implied in what I'm saying is it's not just these like random like production companies and that are just being third party, being hired out project to project, and no one really knows each other. Maybe you get a certain company gets put on multiple projects, but there's still a revolving door within that firm or that company or whatever. We're not talking about this sort of like setup. We're talking about there's actually social connection and trust between the human beings that are making these works of art.
Right.
Over time,
Yeah.
So there's like a vision beyond the thing gets distributed and everyone gets their checks and goes home, right? We just did this transactional thing. It's done. We're good.
We all just happen to want to spend our money on food and shelter. That has nothing to do with each other. That's our individual vibes that we all have. Is like, he's into that, but that's got nothing to do with me. That's his own business. Shelter and food, that's his thing, man. I'm definitely going to spend most of my paycheck on that too, but let's just silo it. Pay everybody the tokens, and then they go and buy the thing.
That way we keep
like
the golfers.
food too?
Yeah.
That way we got to have some golfers
That
running
way the
around.
Consumption model, the money is flowing.
Yeah. Oh, man, I just think about how like
you make me fucking sick.
Oh man,
I think this is directed. I'll speak for myself. A lot of this, these thoughts and this energy are like more so directed towards artists that
with money.
Well, they haven't been validated yet, right? Like they're still in this place where they're getting certain opportunities, and I'm just like, where are you looking right now?
Right.
Where are you looking right now? Why? Where do you think that's going to lead?
Yeah.
Where do you think that's going to lead?
It is a trip when you like basically just ask the question, where does this go for anyone's career? You look at anyone and just be like, how long is this going to last? What are you doing?
9 times out of 10, it's they're
living for
start
real
looking.
movies.
Yeah.
Right now, which I believe in. I fully believe in living in the present, living right now.
But you also got to
not
zoom
too
out.
much.
Yeah. You got to connect the.
Not to the point where it's just
now.
like, next year, who the fuck knows?
Right.
I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm sure investing a lot of time in it. It's just like,
yeah.
It's okay to pause and like really,
just
recalibrate,
reassess.
and think about like what you really want.
Yeah. It's not illegal.
I don't think enough people get asked that. What do you want? Or even what would you do if you were free?
because they don't think it's okay to want what they want.
What would you do? What would you do if you were free? What would you even do
If you could
on
do
this
what you want.
on this planet if you didn't have to worry about surviving anymore?
You know, when I was in college, I used to ask people that question, and like, it was because I was in college and I thought I was way smarter than I was. I used to just be like, yeah, so like, what do you want to do after school, knowing that people are gonna answer with the job they want to have, and then I would be like, what do you want to do that for? Yeah, and I thought I was so fucking smart. I was just, but like,
why that?
But like, but there was like truth, like I think the question behind what I was asking is
pediatrics.
What
Why?
Oh my God!
But,
seriously.
But actually, like the question behind that is like what do you need money for? What are you trying to live for? Like what is the shit you actually care about?
It's actually
beyond
scary
just,
how not.
Yeah,
we don't think that way.
Yeah, and people aren't capable of even like thinking about it for the first time. There are things you can think about for the first time and say, "Oh, I haven't thought about that before, but now I will." That's one of those questions. If you ask somebody to think about it for the first time, they're like mad at you.
Yeah.
They're just
like 9
what?
times out of 10 they get mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you think for 1 second about what could have shaped and informed those, like this idea of yourself in your head that you have in this particular path? You know, you ever ask someone that this probably happened when you were in school, where you ask them these questions, and by the end of it, you're clearly like, you don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah,
they clearly don't know, or half the time they're like, my mom and my dad.
Yep.
My mom and my dad has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Don't even really know. Don't even know themselves like in that way.
Right.
And the idea, the suggestion to them, hey, you ever thought about exploring that thing that you really love a little bit more and leaning into that? It's silly to them.
Yeah.
Like you're being silly and like unrealistic.
Right.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's so common too.
It's so weird that's like that's seen as like being an unserious child, when it's really demanding full humanity out of yourself. and each other.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how oftentimes the instincts of a child match up with like kind of the instincts of a human being that's desiring freedom also.
I was gonna say it's like to our point about social organization earlier, it's like you just spend your whole life getting all of these ideas that are instinctual. That's why you have these ideas when you're a child, is because they're instinctual, not because they're silly or stupid or anything like that. It's because you have an innate sense of like, shit is not right. You know, it's why kids complain about shit not being fair, because it's not fair, you know? And you have your whole life getting this shit getting stomped out of you. It's like your parents, because it was stomped out of them, your school, because that's just how this shit is organized, and they're trying to prepare you for the workforce where it has to be stomped out of you by then. Otherwise, this shit's not gonna work the way it's supposed to work. You know, and it's like,
it's funny how like people are like, oh, life was so simple when you're a kid. And it's like, yeah, because you don't know what the fuck is going on at all. Like, you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
I think I was just like, as a kid, your head's just in the clouds the whole time. It's just an imagination. I feel like.
And I was gonna say, it's like because you've had all of these instinctive impulses stomped out of you your whole fucking life, you get to a certain point where the slightest hint of an alternative sounds incredible to you, and you're kind of hung up on it because the people that have stamped out these impulses your whole life, they don't want you to do that. They say, oh, you shouldn't unionize because that's not in your best interest or whatever. And it looks appealing to you by nature of the fact that the people imprisoning you don't want you to do it, as opposed to any type of critical analysis of what it actually does, you know? And that's why I've had this, had that joke a while ago about how like they can just kill the black people with the ideas that they want you to have, and then that reinforces those ideas, you know? It's like, I think you just have to think more critically about what you want and say, I want this because it looks good to me and not because it looks bad to them, you know?
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that Whack Kwame Ture video where he's basically promoting campism.
The one where he's talking about Saddam Hussein.
If the U.S. says they're against them, well, I'm for them. You know, he's like doing that whole.
It's kind of like if she likes it, I love it.
You don't know. It's not that.
No, I know. I'm just joking.
No, they hate it. I love it.
Yeah.
They love it. I hate it.
Yeah.
You know.
No, do we not want to mention
duck
that?
season? It's rabbit season. Fucking time, motherfucker.
Now, do we not want to mention that in that video it's Saddam Hussein who he's talking about?
Yeah.
Do we not want to?
We'll have the clip thrown in there.
He's talking about Saddam. Not a lot of people know.
Yeah.
No, that's really big, and I think that sort of thing sometimes is like intertwined with this aesthetics as radicalism, lifestyleism thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, let me just go with what on the surface will allow me to signal in my social circles that I'm a little bit more conscious and aware, and that's kind of the whole point to me, is just to signal that. It's not really to do anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think out of that amount of people, it's honestly a tiny cross section of people that, and this is maybe a more cynical view. But I think it's only a tiny cross section of people who are kind of like, they're really looking and they're really willing to like throw down on whatever sort of, you meet them. I mean, we encounter them all the time. But Yeah, a majority.
Well, it's like
of
anything,
it is-
it's the spectrum, a
Right.
gradient.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
I would assume probably.
Yeah, of how
How
hard you're gonna
how
go.
many basically people who are performative?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that's the that's the big value to getting rid of this sort of activist archetype.
Yeah. Yes. I just love how you phrase that, because that's huge. I think like we need to get rid of the activist organizer archetype.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about it before, but like
the concept of it, all
fuck
the
that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
It's
Fuck
like
that.
it's like
Seriously, man.
It's like
'cause
we should all be punks. There shouldn't be a punk. You know what I mean? We should. Like we
I
should
have-
all want freedom.
Yeah, I have conversations with some people where they say like they get it and that they agree, and they have fucking like activists in their bio.
Yeah.
So it's like you get it, but like they'll describe themselves as an activist, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Sometimes it's like, yeah, how else am I going to describe this ability that I have to pull people together to organize or whatever? But it's like, we got to get creative, because this shit is a part of the problem to me.
An activist sounds like you're getting paid by an organization to like lock yourself to shit.
Yeah.
Like, which is, I don't have a problem with that at all, but I'm just saying, like, that we're gonna die if you're trying to convince people to be activists.
You know what? It also feels instinctively geared towards bureaucracy and like hierarchy as well. You wanna sit and like get cozy in this identity as the connector, the leader, the world changer or whatever, and there's always going to be an other. There's always going to be the people who aren't doing what you're doing, right? Yeah. Well, what's that mean? That means there's some paternalism going on here. There's some elitism going on here. Why wouldn't everyone just be doing? It's like, as long as we're I've said it before, it's like, as long as we're using these terms, it's just a testament to the fact of how not revolutionary or socially rebellious the shit we're doing is.
Yeah.
Right. Because there needs to be a specific person. That's the whole point of democracy, is that everyone plays a fucking part in this bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like everyone has to play some kind of part. If we're always going to be delegating something to someone to be a representative or to act on our behalf or whatever, it's always going to leave this space for this elitism, this bureaucracy, this paternalism, and for people to fucking get paid off or to go, somewhere else and do something with, that power that you've given them.
But I believe that I should be able to play a much bigger part in democracy than you. I thought I had more. I thought I had more, but I didn't.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I'll say like facilitator, coordinator, catalyzer. Like, I throw out a million and one different words, but I'm like, anything to get away.
Catalyzer sounds like the Google fucking, what is it? The Google campus version.
Maybe.
Oh,
Got
our
a bunch
team
of
of catalyzers are going to get you onboarded like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like anything
like
to get away from this, like, yeah, I'm an activist, I'm an organizer.
Yeah.
Also, I can't let go of like what feels like, again, this paternalistic organizer. To be an organizer, you have to be organizing people or things. You have to be like, and to me, that just feels like, like pieces on a board or something.
Right.
Like you're just like doing, like the people that you're doing stuff with don't have agency, or they're not. I know the good faith interpretation is you're providing guidance.
You're facilitating.
Whatever. But like, to me, organizer, just these terms just feel very antiquated to me.
Yeah. I definitely.
It's always the job is always a verb. It's a doer.
Right. It's like I can bring people together. I can organize things.
Yeah.
I can bring people together. Or help people see their common interests and cooperate with each other. But like, yeah, I don't know. I really agree with what you said.
At the end of the
I really
day.
agree with what you said about how that is like if we don't get
Well,
rid
it
of
ties
that.
to the
That's a
selfish
part of-
point.
Right.
It's like, stop fucking thinking this is shit that you have only selfless interests in.
Right.
And that you need to professionalize it like it's fucking firefighters or
Right.
doctors or some
You're
shit.
secretly
like,
doing it for
you're
your
fucked.
ego.
And I do think you have to believe in yourself also to reach that step. That's another part of it. If you don't actually believe in your potentialities
believe in the
and your
shared needs
capabilities,
of the people around you, how common we are.
well, I'm just saying, like people who maybe don't feel that they don't have the confidence operating with people in a context where there isn't a stamp from this coercive authority figure or institution, right? Despite all the evidence that suggests the otherwise, despite all the evidence that it's like, this person's a genius, this person is brilliant, look at this person's portfolio. All of us are in the same room right now. What are we waiting for?
Right.
What are you waiting for?
Right.
You know,
This
but
idea
it's just
like it's not
it's like
real.
you get right there, and it's just someone else. It's like someone else has to.
Right.
Someone else has to do it. Someone else has to make that happen. You know?
That was one of the cool things about film school is I met some people and we all kind of looked at each other like, yeah, the classes are not going to be how we learn how to make films. Like,
yeah.
And I just got to say, it's a shame how much money, just capital, actually dictates that. Not skill or whatever. It's actually just capital. You know, there's some fucking idiots who have no idea about whatever, but if they come with the bag of money, everyone will just go
cringy
and
as shit.
It's crazy.
That's what
It's crazy.
Succession makes fun of pretty well. Is like the lame ass, like half baked ideas of people with money.
Yeah, right.
And how they like literally act like they're going to change the world, even though they know they're pieces of shit.
Right. And I mean, that's one of the big things that bothers me about the whole, like, it's kind of brought me to the conclusion that not only do we not need a comedians union, but it's not even desirable to me, even outside of the like retaliation and all of these other limitations that come with it. I just think it's not desirable, and now I'm forgetting why what I was.
I'm thinking it's
That's
not
such
holistic.
a cool idea.
I'm thinking it's
though.
not.
I mean, not
holistic.
the comedian kind of like house or whatever.
I'm thinking
institution.
I'm thinking it's not holistic. I mean, that's my feeling.
Yeah. I was
holistic
about to
enough.
make a. I was about
That's a
to
good
make
way to put it.
I was about to make an auxiliary point to that, and I just like I saw weed and it got into my brain.
You looked at it.
I looked at it. And now I'm high.
Maybe it's it was a point on fulfillment even, or
shit, I don't know. I don't even remember. I've never so.
Well, that's not desirable. You were talking about.
I'm telling you, I've never so fully lost the train of thought in my life.
That's
You're like, stop helping.
That's how I feel.
Done.
That's how I would feel.
But
like it's
yeah,
not
that's-
exciting. It's not exciting,
yeah.
and it's not fulfilling. You're gonna make the reason out of that, the little bit of extra time you have off the clock or doing what you need to survive. You're gonna use that limited time to gather with people to talk about struggling with your overlord for more.
Right.
Why not use that extra time to do fun shit in a way that's productive enough to generate revenue and that y'all can use to create infrastructure that further serves your survival and security and for you to create better things?
I found it. It was your point about I guess both y'all's point about capital is that it seems like every 6 months to a year a new entity shows up in comedy that has the capital to help people do a thing to produce something or we're
like
starting a new
TV or something like
yeah
that.
It could even be just a production company or
Bro,
it's just like a bunch of rich people who came together and like we're throwing money, we're giving money out.
There's fucking
it's real.
CISO, there's now Peacock, there's some other entities.
I mean, you're describing all right-wing media as that. It's just
Yeah.
rich assholes being like, let's make Daily Wire.
Let's do comedy now.
Yeah.
And it's
They
like,
do it.
yeah,
They do it.
Yeah.
They put their money where their mouth is.
yeah. And bro, it's like, it's like comedians always bite for this
They're
shit.
outnumbered. We all, in that
Yeah.
respect, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like comedians always bite on this shit. I've bitten when I needed the money. It's like the shit always feels appealing to somebody. You know, there's always somebody getting left behind in comedy that can have this that responds to this carrot being dangled in front of their face. You know, and it's so rare that people take a second to just look and see what do they have that I don't have, which in most cases is cameras. They got some cameras and an editor.
Do you know what else? Which is even crazier to me. Everyone also knows, like in entertainment, they're all still connected to wealthy people that like them.
Yeah. Right.
They're just not having conversations with them. They're not trying to bring everyone together to have conversations with them. Like, hey, you like the dope shit that we do. Can you throw some money into this?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how big that pot would be if enough people decided to do that, actually standing on something transformative?
That's always an interesting part of where this conversation goes, is just thinking about the sliding the scales, sliding up the sliders on wealth to leftist politics, and seeing how far you can go. Like, is there a leftist billionaire? You know what I mean? And then, like, would there ever be one that would fucking do anything? You know, just like thinking, how far can it go?
I want to see the thing that dude is saving up for. Like, what costs?
He's like, I'm gonna surprise.
I don't know about
everybody
that. I don't know
later.
about that. But
Right.
there's enough people with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in excess, who
Exactly.
aren't complete pieces of shit and aren't
And many who are out here talking about this shit, like they actually do care.
Right. Who could just put a little bit of time and effort into building out on this foundational infrastructure of this land.
It's crazy.
Housing.
Very few of them have done that. When you think about how much like $1 million would get you with no labor on your end.
On your end.
Projecting powerlessness, man.
With like a couple Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And it's also like, you have so much wealth. How much of a bet really is it for you?
Right.
How much of a bet or a risk is it really for you?
Right.
Yeah, there you have so much room to play. There's so much
and in the
risk you
best
can
case
assume.
scenario, there's now an broader ecosystem in which you could thrive and actually make more money even.
Right.
If you actually just
if one works,
Right.
Yeah.
It's a pretty weird.
It's fucked up, man.
We'll build.
This show is huge potential, because just to be transparent and clear with people, every time we talk about this shit, some of these people are watching, and some of the people with money and resources, you know, are interested in having a conversation. So the bare minimum any one of us can do is keep trying to put the ideas out there. Put the ideas out there and keep articulating a plan and a strategy, about how we can do things differently. And I do think that this should be happening spontaneously and asynchronously and autonomously. Like, I really hope that what we're doing doesn't develop and become quote unquote successful to the point where now this is supposed to be the single point of entry for transformation or something, especially at the local bare bones, when we're talking about land and, housing, shelter, food, these kinds of things, because ultimately that's what all of us need. And I personally believe collectively there's enough of us with enough resources and smarts to where locally we can get ourselves in a situation to where we don't have to worry about that shit anymore. And I don't think it's crazy. I think it's like the least radical thing. Wow, a bunch of people, they got space and they're not paying rent to anyone.
They met their needs.
And they're feeding helping each other out and they decide what they want to do with their time. That's not fucking crazy. Like, it's only crazy in so much as you buy into just the way things are.
Read fucking David Wengrow,
which is killing us. The way things are is killing us.
Read The Dawn of Everything. People throughout history have thought a different shit and tried a different shit to varying degrees of success.
That family home shit is so crucial. Like, not to promote like the nuclear family as like an ideal or something, but that expanding that shared common space. That's the key. That's the key. The only reasons you fight against that would be ego, greed, all just narcissism, all these things. If you just recognize and understand what's going to serve you and can serve other people, well, it's right there.
Yeah. You know what's fucked up when you talk about that is like, and when this clicked for me, it kind of felt like I was a little like mad. It's like the difference between like what we have now, which is these fucking suburbs where every house is facing the street, and it feels like you can't influence your surrounding area because that's municipal shit.
Right.
It's like literally just face the houses the other way. If you're on a fucking block and you got houses, like say 5-6 houses on this fucking block, turn the houses fucking inward.
Right. So facing a street.
Face these other fucking houses. Yeah. You have a grassy area between you, and you can do whatever the fuck you want with that space. Talk to those people and just like start a garden, start
some produce
shit
some
where
food.
It's
just dotted all over the place. It's just kind of like.
And I don't even say that to point fingers at people who aren't doing that. I'm saying like the fucking like Jedi mind trick that they've played on us is so fucking simple and childish,
that it goes all the way down to the level of design of housing and land. We have we're planning we're getting slabs of grass on the ground.
Right.
Suburbia is crazy.
Remember what I was saying the other day about Disneyland being Americans?
Because of cars also. We have that because of cars.
Being Disneyland being America's way of paying to experience walkable cities.
Right.
I can't remember who said that joke, but shout out to them. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
just go to Atlantic Station in Atlanta.
I think it was you who said that.
I didn't come up with it. I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
Someone online said that, but it was really funny to me and so true because it's just like
all that's just to be clear, all that stuff has to be rethought as well. All of that crap has to be rethought. That's another thing. Like we have to stop working, but like we have to stop fucking driving too.
Yeah.
I'm not being hyperbolic here.
No,
I mean
like,
this literally. If we don't stop doing these things, because the government, there's no federal, they're talking about carbon capture and all this stuff. None of that shit is gonna be able to stop this. Bro. None of it.
Bro, you think, do you know how much money they blow up 6 million people for fucking oil, bro? Like, that's the only reason we're all in these fucking cars, because this shit makes money. There's absolutely no reason for it.
Yeah,
bro, absolutely no reason for it.
LA is a fucking wasteland. If have you been to Glendale?
Oh yeah, I worked at ABSO. I don't know.
Shouts out the Archetype
offices.
Right. Yeah, shouts out our Armenian community, but y'all are surrounded by.
Shout out Hard Rock Nick. Although I don't know if he's Armenian. I think he is.
He is.
But actually, not shout out him. I think he's a Trump supporter.
No.
Wait, what's his name? Rock Hard Nick.
Yeah. You should see his new Mark II. Hard Rock Nick Mark II is an interesting looking guy. Go ahead. Sorry.
Rock Hard Richard. But I was just saying, all of Glendale is just lined with fucking car dealerships. It's insane, and just for no fucking reason.
They're trying to make like a fucking mile-high building in Japan in their bay. And I think Tokyo Bay, and it's like a 5,000 meter building.
It's like they're literally playing Civilization, and they're just like clocking achievements.
They're trying to cause the Godzilla ending of SimCity. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
These bastards. That's what they're doing. They're doing a destruction run on
Jesus
on
Christ,
SimCity.
I just want to put out a nugget of a start for people who are grasping, like they're picking up what we're putting down. Like, to me, if you were to start something beyond where we're at with 400 million, if you're just watching and you're far off and you're just in a place far away and you don't have a relationship with us, I would be in the headspace of thinking, okay, how can I create broader campaigns that spotlight a series of very concrete, practical actions that groups of people can do to start inching we're going to do this eventually. It's just going to take a lot of time and labor, but to start inching their way towards pulling out of these types of relations in terms of labor and capitalist businesses, in terms of their living situation, paying to landlords and even paying mortgage and all of this nonsense. And to me, I think it would fundamentally, the outcome would fundamentally come down to people somehow connecting with each other. You know, like they're connecting with each other over like affinity. They have shared values, shared culture, ideas, whatever. Going through a series of processes to cultivate trust with each other, and make sure that these are people that I would actually want to be in community with. You know, I trust them. I trust them to commit to a certain degree of labor and to share, and so et cetera, et cetera. And then it would just be a means by which, I think this is where technology has to play a role, but a means by which many people can start to develop their own plans, you know, for eco communities, whatever you want to call them, and then and fundraise around them, you know. And I think there just needs to be a global movement on that tip.
Yeah.
Like, I think that has to happen now, you know. And I do think that there has to be a baseline set of values and principles, not just in terms of like internal conduct, how people relate to each other in their labor and how they live with each other, but like in terms of the environment, ecology, you know?
Oh yeah.
And I think there needs to be like broad coalitions of these grassroots types of communities and organizations that, you know, federate with each other and communicate with each other and put their resources, their platforms, their infrastructure together to continue to amplify this sort of approach to things. And I think in that process of like, even if we're playing a huge role in sort of like this type of thing developing, I think there's going to be lots of trial and error and lots of failures and lots of disappointments. But I think on the other end of it would be a sharpened and clear and concise methodology that any poor and working class person can tap into somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not going to be easy. Just because I said any person can tap into it doesn't mean it's an easy process or something. Right. Doesn't mean just because you want this outcome that you're just going to get it because you're signing into some kind of process. It just means that there's an opportunity, there would be an opportunity for people to cultivate that trust with each other and then put resources together to start doing these things. And these things, quote unquote, aren't like complicated at the like the baseline level of what we're talking about, you know? And I have like 1,000,001 different thoughts on top of that, but I just wanted to say that because yeah, and I think I'm gonna keep having that urge the more we move forward to try and explain and distill some of these things in more detail until we're able to roll out what our vision of like what these things could be.
Yeah.
You know? Because I know people they're getting this, but it's like until there's that clear presentation of like how all of these different points connect with each other in a way that's like shareable and methods that they can repeat, you know, they can just hand it to someone and they can repeat these and try it out for themselves. There's just going to be this sort of,
I'm excited for one day to really like our first real solid kind of tour of like what 400 million is.
Yeah, same.
I'm excited for that. Like
same.
when it's, you know, really we're flying.
Yeah. Same.
Right.
I can't wait for that to just kind of show how it's all connected and laid out.
Yeah.
Right. It's gonna be cool and just I don't know. I think people that watch the show are gonna be surprised at really how much we're like actually doing this and excited by that and invigorated by that. I really do think so. Like I think I personally think that this just on its face is this these conversations are of worth, but what we're doing with this like is gonna deepen things for people, I feel like.
We're in the practice of everything that I just said.
Yeah.
We are already in the practice of everything that I just said, just to be very clear.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of there are so many moving parts. It's just a matter of communicating what they are and how they connect with each other for our group to get this outcome, you know?
Yeah, like I don't talk about it in that way, but it's true. We are 100% practicing. We're doing the practice or whatever. Like 1,000,000%. I another time in my life I might have been more hesitant to say that, but it's like no, I've spent my pounds of flesh or whatever towards this and just in general the importance of it that I have in my heart of it's like I can confidently say it's like we are really putting, because it's not just our labor, like it's not, it's like you always say, holistic, and I think that's an underrated word, because it's like it's like it's even working out the social kinks of how we relate to other human beings with each other. Not even on, it's beyond therapy. It's like all of us do therapy. It's like it's also the practice of then applying what you discover in therapy in practice with other people.
You have to have space to even do that.
And trust. And then extend that out to more people. All while producing art together.
Actually doing labor.
Doing labor that you're not paid for. So it's just like
no money.
This shit is deep.
The way I thought about it is, if I were to distill the culture that we're cultivating, it's literally like a baseline of everyone's humanity being centered front and center.
Absolutely.
That's what I would distill it down. It's like the first questions are, who are you? Who are you? What do you want? The questions that most people never get asked. What do you want? What do you want? You know, and I can see how that can be scary and intimidating when you're used to this, where that's usually comes with this air of like, are you going to perform for me? You know, it's like, are you going to perform to do the job?
So what makes you good enough to join the team at Walmart? What makes you? Why do you fit here?
Why do you think that you're capable of standing in this fucking doorway as people walk by? Huh?
I just learned, apparently, they hire those old folks there for insurance policies that they take out on them, so that when they die, they cash in on that shit. I'm not even joking.
Wow.
I'm not even joking. They do
That's
that on
fucking crazy.
They do that on purpose.
Where'd you find out about
insane,
this?
TikTok. AKA the Library of Alexandria. The center of human knowledge.
You got a source on that? Let me see. Walmart.
They showed legal documents and shit, so I took their word for it.
Okay. Wow. Old people insurance policies.
He's gonna find a good one. I just know it.
Wow, this is from 2010. Walmart sued for collecting life insurance on employees. Tallahassee, Florida.
Wow.
Whoa, they do have the second result is Walmart life insurance, family coverage. They have I guess they have a whole life insurance.
You can buy life insurance at Walmart.
There's one from 2007. Walmart took secret life insurance policy. They must have had so much shit wiped by now if the two top results are 2010, 2007.
Also, why the fuck is it so easy to take out a life insurance policy on somebody without their knowledge?
Here's my question. How are you so unsatisfied you need to do that on top of selling every product in the world?
Right.
You're a $100 billion business,
Right.
and you're like, we got to get a couple we got to scrape a couple fucking bucks
I just
off
got
of
this
these suckers.
article from CFO.com. Walmart settles life insurance lawsuit. The estates of 73 former employees will get between $35,000 and $50,000 as part of a settlement involving the proceeds, corporate-owned life insurance. And then it's cut out because I think it's so
unemployed
old.
life.
I really love
Live it.
I really love referring to 73 Walmart employees as their estates.
Walmart's
Each is estates.
The estate of Mr. Guy who died in a fucking working for Walmart.
Walmart stores has settled a $5.1 million class action lawsuit involving the proceeds of corporate-owned life insurance
fucking nothing to
policies
them.
that plaintiffs claim the retailer wrongfully received after the employees died, according to the Associated Press. Yeah, and they're so
Here's your
big.
pittance.
It's just a blip.
That was several hours of accounting paperwork that had to happen, and that was it. Like that whole entire lawsuit.
We actually had all that paper sitting on ice.
That was an assistant coming in the room and be like, legal got back to us about the settlement. It's all taken care of.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
No one was affected by that.
Yeah, that settlement.
And then all those people got to be like, let's go on vacation this summer.
Right.
We had that paperwork sitting on ice for about 5 years, give or take, right?
So we found out that Grandpa Bill actually had a secret life insurance policy taken out from Walmart. So we won this big class action, and we're going to Epcot. That's what we're doing.
We're going to Applebee's.
We're trying the Chinese food at China and Epcot. I've heard it's the best.
Can finally
Chinese food in Florida.
Can finally go to Olive Garden. Like we always wanted.
Yeah, we're gonna really try the endless breadsticks and just take
we're gonna see how
we're gonna try and reach the bottom.
A
of the,
limit George
the
Miller would be shy about.
We're gonna see how unlimited those breadsticks really are.
Yeah.
We're gonna find the limit.
We're gonna really stick that bread. Okay.
How did you get on Walmart?
Oh, I have no idea, my friend. I don't even remember.
Where are we at?
Roll back
time?
the tape.
We're at 2 hours and 55 minutes.
All right.
Just getting started.
You want to push for our longest one? Can you imagine?
I sure don't.
Can you imagine if we did? Can you imagine if we did that and then we did a part 2 or at our first part 2?
I don't know if that's the consensus here, but
I was good to go about an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I dissent.
Oh, man.
I dissent.
I drank like a pink drizzle lemonade slizzle bang energy at like 7 p.m. and
I drank a Rocks Cum energy drink.
Speaking of rocks, it hit me like a rock.
You've name dropped bang so many times. There needs to be a bang counter on this edit.
All the people,
we gotta change the name to something else.
All the people at Bang definitely live in homes that will be in unlivable, uninhabitable areas within 20 years. So I don't care. It's all good.
We have to change bang to another word with ang on it, and so they don't.
No,
get
just
that
ang
product
from
placement.
Airbender. Then you're good to go. Ang. Just take the B out. That's his name, Yedoye. I don't know why you're mad. It is. Ang.
I've never watched the show, so.
Avatar. The Last Airbender.
Never watched Avatar.
By the way, I was sitting in that seat earlier, and he was talking to me. It is so much harder to look at him in that seat than in this one. So thank you for your service.
Y'all don't know how much I do for you, man.
You really do. You
It's
really
crazy.
It's
crazy.
You take one for the team.
You know what's fucked up?
What's that?
There in earlier episodes there were comments like I feel bad for dude's neck. And
I remember that.
I realized like at my house, my computer is also it's facing this way, and then I got my fucking TV behind me.
Wow.
And so there are times
You just adapted.
Your spine is gonna be fucked up.
My spine is gonna be like a spiral staircase.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the staircase at Hogwarts.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like it's gonna be shifting around.
Be like a Dali painting.
Yeah,
like
it's gonna be like a fucking clock.
I'm gonna be the first cubist person.
Yeah, your back is sort of has a cubism thing going on. A doctor saying that to you.
Yeah.
There's really no other way to describe it. It's like you've got 3 spines and they're all kind of like dancing together.
You got cube vibes going on.
Yeah.
You're back,
Cube.
brother.
This X-ray is just a Rothko painting. It's just a Mondrian.
You see, your friend over here, he's kind of like a Norman Rockwell. You're a little bit more of a Picasso.
Brother.
Hey, brother. Well, I mean, I don't, but that's just fun to do. Brother.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother.
Hey, brother. I want to know the white man pioneer of that. I want to know the first guy to try that in the wild.
Man.
Where do you think he lived? You think it was in Texas, somewhere in the South?
It was in Texas because they still.
No,
right.
Ohio.
It wouldn't be the South. Yeah, it wouldn't be the South because they're saying brother, like they're brother. Yeah, but that's specific, brother. On the end of it,
It feels like a
There
little.
is a sort of
who
a
was
pant.
who was the first? That's what I want to know.
It feels like
Someone's gonna find an archive like video from like
white man,
Yeah.
local
Like from
paper.
19
White man says brother for first time, arrested immediately.
It feels like it's got to be like a Utah, like one of these places where they've just never seen a black person. You know,
It had to be
Like
the
one of these
first time.
where they have only imagined people of color.
Yeah,
you know,
or media.
Yeah, or it's like they just have it stored in their body. You know, like there's no way that comes out without some type of like you're at capacity. You know. Like I've wanted to address a black person my whole life, and it's like, it's just brother.
Yeah,
my bet is it's along the eastern seaboard
it's
somewhere.
Part of that strain of white guy that's like, I love you, man. Or it's like, latest on the Menges. Have you ever seen that movie? Y'all.
Yeah,
I think I have.
I love you, man. It's a great movie.
I've seen it. I don't remember that scene.
Paul Rudd, right? And
I'm
Jason
familiar.
Segel. I'm just trying to make sure I get the names right.
Jason
Too famous.
Schmiegel.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah, 2 adorable guys. The fuck do you want from?
Might I say, 2 adorable guys.
They're too adorable.
Oh man, when are we doing the furry episode?
They're totes adorable, and I'm kind of a big fan.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Pedro Pascal is father.
Is daddy.
He is uncle.
Pedro Pascal is the man from Uncle. Have you seen that? I haven't seen it.
That's like, why does he have a name like a guy who invented math? Like, isn't Pascal a scientist or something like that? There is, I swear,
I think
a
so.
scientist named Pascal. Jamie.
It's like his name's Pedro Pythagoras.
The mathematician, Blaise Pascal.
There we go. Blaise
Yeah.
Pascal. That's right.
You got Blaise and Pascal.
If Pedro Pascal smoked weed, he would have invented math,
Yeah.
but he didn't.
Yeah. He's got Blaise and Pascal.
I get lucky,
name.
man. That's
crazy.
knowledge. That's wisdom right there.
And you know what I like more than blazing? Knowledge.
Knowledge. Ty Lopez being like, if Pedro Pascal would have smoked weed, he would have invented trigonometry. I read that in a book by Malcolm Gladwell. Anyways, the Lamborghini's $400,000.
I actually say,
and I rented it. Don't worry.
I actually say Lamborghini with an enye on the end. It's Lamborghini.
I add that in my speech.
Yeet actually let me borrow his Urus.
Yeah.
I have to return it tomorrow, but the day after, I'm buying my own Urus. And that's because of the knowledge on the wall behind me.
Knowledge.
Just got this new Urus.
But you know what I like more than the Urus?
Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Which I just pulled up in.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
You want to clap us out? Who's going to clap us out? You should clap us out.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. I gotta warm up the feelers.
Oh, wait. This is reminding me one last thing.
You motherfucker.
The slap show that Dana White created. I'm here to promote right-wing media energy drinks. I'm sorry, man. Look, we're in hell. Sometimes you stop by one of the cages and look at something. You're like, wow.
He's acting like the red and the brown. If you catch my drift.
Fuck. All right. We're not part of that. We don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Stop
so
acting like the red and the brown.
Stop it.
Okay, so what you're saying
that was a double entendre.
Dana White. So Dana White started a slap show hosted by his wife.
He's red. We're brown.
We're gonna cut that out.
Thank you.
We're gonna cut that out. We're gonna cut that out. But I have to say it.
Oh,
We're not.
Thank you.
We're not gonna cut it out.
Oh,
We're not gonna cut it out.
I mean, he did do that, so it's technically true. And
to be clear, what I said was he's acting like the red and the brown. So, yeah. Not that we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're anti that.
Yes.
Is what he's trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Fuck Dana White.
What's the slap show?
The slap show is just like two guys slapping each other. It's incredible.
What if we did like UFC but bite size?
Yeah.
Right? I bet you
and
that
it's
was
literally
the pitch.
confessional interviews. Like, I'm gonna knock this guy out. Like, I'm telling you, it's.
Oh no! What they're doing is they're doing the actual slap competition. They're actually formalizing that.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. You've seen it in Russia and shit. They're
I've
just
seen
bringing
slap
it here.
competitions.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think?
Is he
it
getting
was?
in on arm wrestling too? He's going to corner that market too.
Probably.
Did you think it was like a show about him
I thought
talking
it was-
about the Will Smith slap for?
I
a
thought of
season?
Gaki no Tsukai. I thought of the Japanese show where they're like silent library. Like,
oh yeah.
for some reason,
Yeah.
that's what my fucking brain went to.
I'm sorry to extend this show.
No, that's
I
fine.
apologize.
Yeah.
It's like when it.
Anyways, I'm good to go.
Yeah. So that reminded me, I watched Freakonomics.
You watched it?
I watched some of it. They had a whole section on sumo and like cheating in sumo. It's called Yaucho. I thought it was really funny that cheating in sumo seems to be just like, because there's like a ranking system in sumo where if you lose a certain
Diamond 1.
yeah, it's
That type of shit.
yeah, but it's like you can lose enough matches that you get bumped out of the ranks entirely, and it fucks up your life. And they'll like
a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
Jesus.
and so like guys, because they all know each other and they're friends, they'll take the
they'll
fall for a guy
Wow.
who's about to lose. And I'm looking at it, they're talking about it like it's so serious, like it's devastating the art. I'm like, these are just guys who don't want each other to live shitty lives. It's not cheating to me.
Oh, they were saying that was bad.
Yeah.
That's funny.
They were like having whistleblowers, like
They're
like,
breaking the rules out of decency and humanity.
Right.
Stop it.
Right. It's like they're not honoring the Friedman doctrine. They're fucking
The documents are being violated again.
I don't want to extend this. I'm seriously not trying. I'm not doing what y'all was doing. But no, I just wanted to share a funny and cool memory. The first time I was like in a like Japanese like public building, I think I was getting like my residence card. It was the most surreal experience to be sitting in their waiting room. It's just this very like clinical atmosphere. And they have TVs on the wall, and it's just sumo wrestling, but like it's
Fire.
golf. Like it
Yeah,
was the same
of course.
thing as like if you went to a dentist's office or something like that, and you looked up. But it was just so cool, just like to have that.
I mean, it's a sick sport.
Yeah, yeah. There's something going on with in the world of sumo wrestling, but maybe we can talk about it some other time.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. Things changing.
They're not eating enough. The sumo wrestlers
Abuse.
now, they're very tiny.
It's abuse. It's like their
They
standards.
don't eat
are-
the cheeseburgers anymore.
They're not as tough anymore.
They used to be.
They used to beat each other, and now they hug each
Let
other.
me tell you. Excuse me.
Let me tell you, you're never gonna get
Excuse
big and
me.
strong doing that.
Let me
Trust
tell you
me,
something. The
people.
sumos.
And I know something about being
Back
big
in
and
my
strong.
day, the
Trust
sumos
me.
were huge, enormous sumo wrestlers.
more like Sules. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta go.
Now they're sumo, but they're not very
I wish
strong,
people
not
would
very tough.
sue less.
Oh fuck you.
All right, 1, 2.
You gotta let him. You gotta clap. You gotta clap. Yeah.
No. Roll the tape back. See who said it first.
I got the phone.
Who said it? You
No, I'm
all
saying-
laughed.
No, I was saying.
You all laughed. I said sue less, and everybody thought it was hilarious.
But I'm saying he wished people would sue him less.
Oh, he took it.
I wish people. I wish people would sue less.
This happens a lot, by the way.
What?
You do the foundational joke, and then he just.
It's because we're a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
You were just brilliant together.
Yeah.
That's part of it, you know.
It's called Fire and More Fire.
Or Abbott and Costello, or some other racist comedy duo.
It's a long name. You want to go with that?
We're Jeff Dunham and friends.
Oh no.
I'm friends.
You're friends.
I hope so. I hope so.
You're one of the racist puppets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
all right.
God.
Let's
Comedy
go.
Central.
Let's go. 2008, good year.
Have you seen the "I Kill You" bit from Jeff Dunham? It's one of the.
He says a thing he would kill you for, and then he goes, "I kill you."
Yeah.
You get it? It's hilarious.
It's usually of some sort of reactionary streak. It's
Okay.
pretty funny. Oh. All right, on a 4.
What if this just never ends?
Hit the 4.
Okay.
I've not forced either of you to stay long. I've expressed my caffeination level since the beginning.
It's just it's organic. It's organic.
I'm just like, I can't be in the middle. You know, we gonna keep to it. We gonna go hard.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I don't know. I kind of like this. I like dangling in this limbo state. I fuck with you, though.
Can you imagine?
I like having you.
Can you imagine if we kept going?
I like kind of edging it.
I love that somebody that's watching could hear us say like, "You want to clap out," and then they just scrub, and it was like, "There's an hour left."
Right.
What do you mean?
Right.
Well, when Taylor was here, it was like there was like an hour left after I was like, thanks for coming.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
I think you did that like 45 minutes in.
Yeah, I was like, thanks for coming. Yeah, it's been a half hour. I just have no concept of time anymore. Thanks for coming. It's been 3 hours, but what a time. What a ride. What a ride.
Anyway, Connor, thanks for coming. It's been a great episode.
I've came twice this episode.
There's cum in my boots.
In my pants.
In my fucking pants. I wonder if he really had sex with him, man. You think he has?
Who
Skeptic.
cares?
Who?
I care.
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon. Well, there's also
There's a
the
video,
element.
was it-
He said someone got an NDA. They had to sign it because they fucked.
Do you think after sex he just goes, "I came"?
Okay. He comes. He goes. Okay.
That was. I fucking.
He just
You're fucking. It's like YouTube poop. It just cuts off there. You're so fucking. This shit.
This
shit.
It's just like hearing like TF2
my
blurbs.
One.
What do you?
What?
Well, I was just gonna ask. Sorry, damn it. I wouldn't have stopped you had I not.
No.
Literally, it was the exact same moment, but might as well. What do y'all got going on tomorrow? I didn't even think it was gonna be that funny. Oh my god. Oh my god. I literally was about to ask. I was like, what got going on?
Wait. You're serious?
Yeah, I was dead
I thought that was just a really long joke.
Oh no. I was serious, but it came out like a joke. Oh,
I
that's
thought
funny.
that was a long play of a joke.
I was dead serious. But then when I said it, just the delivery was like a joke.
Oh my god!
I was really like, while we're talking casual.
Oh
what's
my
everyone?
god!
I just kind of want to see the Mario movie before you leave. That's all.
God.
But I don't know. That or John Wick 4 again. Have you seen John? You haven't seen shit.
I tried watching the first John Wick and I just wasn't for me.
Really?
Wasn't my cup of tea.
You British? John Wick 4 wasn't my cup of tea. Wow. That was funny.
We gotta go.
Anyways, all right.
One,
Yes.
1, 2, 3.